All right, hey guys, what's up? What's up? I'll give you guys a few seconds to come on. As you guys can see, the title, right? Black men in Japan share, or encounters with the police. You guys might be familiar with the last video, the most recent video that I did, which was what 2, 3 days ago, about a very distasteful encounter that I had, in Japan with the police here, and I'll give you guys a few seconds to come on before I get into the meat of it. As you guys can see, we have four other people on the panel. I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves, one, and then also they're going to share their individual experiences with the police in Japan, right? The duration of time living in Japan ranges from, I think I might be the youngest, like maybe 6 years in Japan, up to like 20 plus years in Japan. So we have a very diverse group here. Abel as well is also mixed Japanese, so we're gonna get his experience. We're gonna get Piggles and Gizmo and Joseph and my own as well, of course. And there's an article as well that's in the description down below. You guys can reference it if you want to just learn about, I guess, the sort of like the psyche or the system that governs the police, right, from an insider. I think it's a really good article, and the book I want to read it too. It's going to take me some time because it's all in like Japanese, and the kanji is like a killer. But still, I'm going to get through it eventually, right? Let me just see. Okay, we got like 40 plus people on. All right, so we're gonna get into it. So first, guys, can you introduce yourself? We can start from Piggles and we go work our way. So Piggles and Joseph, then Abel, then Gizmo in the
Okay.
flow. Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andre Cunningham, aka Piggles the Gaijin. I am from Jamaica. I'm the Jamaican YouTuber. Well, was the Jamaican YouTuber, but yeah. I teach English in Japan. I also do MC duties, and I also do music as well. I've been in Japan for 8 years, 4 years in Aichi, and 4 years in Chiba. So I've got like the Kanto and like the Mikawa experience. So and I got stopped by police in both areas as well. So I kind of have I guess, a very, we call it diverse view of the police stopping of. And the first stop was without locks. The second one was with locks. So see, I covered both bases. So yeah,
All right, nice. And you've been in Japan for how long, Piggles?
8 years in total.
Okay, so Joseph, your turn. You can introduce yourself, same as
Okay.
Piggles.
My name is Joseph Harris Jr. I'm an educator. I've been in Japan for 20 years. I believe that's part of the reason why I've been here so long, because I am an educator. I love what it is I do. I've been teaching all levels, primarily only living in Gifu-ken the entire time I'm here. Currently, I'm a part-time lecturer at a university, and my wife is Japanese. My wife and I, we run a small, modest school as well, and I do some part-time work teaching here and there.
Okay, all right, Abel, your turn.
Hi. Hey guys, nice to meet you. My name is Abel. I'm half Japanese, half Nigerian, and originally from Yokohama, which is next to Tokyo, Kanagawa. And I've lived there like I think over 20 years of my life, and like I've also lived in Tokyo as well. Now I'm currently residing in UK, London. Because of my job, I do modeling. So like I've been in Europe for 3 or 4 months now. Yeah,
All right,
that's pretty much about me. Yeah.
all right, nice. So Gizmo.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm Gizmo. I am originally from Trinidad and Tobago. If you watch one of the interviews I was on here with Ranzo a few months ago. Grew up in Trinidad and Tobago, moved to New York, moved to Arizona, moved to Japan. I've been in Japan and Shizuoka for 11 years now. I'm an entertainer like my brethren Piggles, who's entertainers, you don't know. But yeah, I'm an MC. I do music. I'm an educator as well. That's my main hustle. I have a little private school that I teach at. And yeah, I too have been stopped on numerous occasions. So let's get into it, baby.
All right. So of course you guys know my name, Ranzo. I've been in Japan for 6 years, right? And I've been stopped by the police 1, 2, 3 times. Well, actually, yeah, 3 times I've been stopped by the police, right? The most recent was the most distasteful one. And the thing is this, right? I personally don't have any problem with the police, like just doing their jobs, being police. I have like police in my family, soldiers in my family. Well, back in Jamaica, the thing is, when when there's an abuse of power, that's where I have a problem, right? And people reference the fact that the police were called, so it's not necessarily their fault. They're actually doing their job. In the most recent stop where the police was called to my house, the way I see it, the police role in that, this is how I see it. The police is like a weapon. for the, I don't know, xenophobic or the racist or the prejudice, whatever title you want to ascribe to the person that called them. I see the police as an extension of that
Mm.
individual, and they use the police as a weapon to enact their will, right? And the reason why it was so sour for me was because it's my house, the place I retreat to. You know, when you go out, you do your thing, you come back to your home, right? You sleep
Yeah.
here, you know, you chill with your family. It's like your abode, your sanctuary. So that's why I
Yeah.
feel like I was so violated. It's not like I'm on the road, you
Mm.
know, walking or driving or riding my
Mm.
bicycle and the police call me over. That's different. That's okay. That happens to anyone. But someone literally took up the phone and called the police to come to my house where my wife is, my daughters are, and I live and
Mm.
sleep. You know, like, so that was that's why I wasn't in the happy, chirpy mood that I'm known for. I was pissed. I was,
Yeah.
because they came to my house, right? And they crept up on me. I never heard anything. I was just there outside of the car, and I just heard some noise. Looked around. I'm looking in the face of two police officers, right?
Yeah.
And the very first thing was the guys looking into the car and asking me about, oh, the car seat, the baby seat in the back, and started asking me about that and where do I live and all these things. I'm just like, I was not in the mood to engage whatsoever. Whatsoever. So that's why this one really, really rubbed me the wrong way. And
Mm.
you know, people gave me different advice as to what to do, what I can do, etc., etc. And I might follow, you know, some of them. Maybe go to the police station and find out exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, I wanted to shed some light on this issue in Japan because, again, there's an article. The link is in the description. I think is very insightful in terms of being a just being a person in Japan, period, and what the law states. And apparently, with the Constitution of Japan, it's almost like the police can override that for public safety. So if you know, if they see a suspicious person, for instance, it's like, listen, your rights are almost trumped. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
in the sake of for the sake of public safety, right? So there's just certain things I might reference. The article is like a 9-minute read, so I don't know if I'm going to do it or not. Maybe toward the end of this, I'm going to go through it, but I'm going to go from Piggles and allow
Mm.
them to share their experiences and come back around to me to share my experiences with the police in Japan, and maybe we can offer some advice or insight in circumventing and interactions if possible, reducing interactions if possible, and
Mm.
maybe just way to like uh, have a more positive experience when dealing with the police in Japan, right? Again, I've been here for 6 years. It goes all the way up to 20 years in Japan, right? And
Mm.
Abel has been here for all his life. So you guys can get a well-rounded insight, I think, about what it's really like to be black in Japan and all that good stuff, right? So, Piggles, we're going to start with you. Can you just tell me about maybe first your perception of police in Japan
Mhm.
before coming to
Mhm.
Japan, and then your
Right.
experience from your first encounter to
Mhm.
maybe the one that stands out the most.
Okay. First of all, before coming to Japan, I always said this. I had no idea about what Japan really was. I wasn't the one that did the research and looked for YouTubers or looked for things to do in Japan. I literally was like, I worked at a prominent bank in Jamaica. My friend literally said to me, "Hey, you want to go to Japan?" I'm like, "Okay," as a joke, like, "Yeah, not really." But then things started progressing. My job was downsizing, and I started exploring more. And so I didn't really have this image of Japan apart from what was on Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that, to be honest. You know what I mean? And a couple of the stereotypes that they had. But police, just knew it was a disciplined society, had no idea what the police would be like until I got to Japan itself. Just heard they were very strict. And, you can be stopped at any time. Please have your Zaidu card or Gaijin card with you at all times. And that was it. And then when I came to Japan, I started hearing horror stories about people being locked up, being stopped, didn't have their ID card, and they were locked up for 3 weeks. No response, no calls, nothing out, no one call to tell somebody where you are. So people lost their jobs because people couldn't find them, and I was like, "That's crazy! How can some place that is supposed to be so civilized and first world and futuristic have such draconian type rules when it comes to people?" So that was one of the weird things. My first experience was really awkward. I guess I can understand why. That time I had no hair, so um, well, I was bald. I was working out, so I work Eikaiwa, and so I work at night. So I come home like around 10:30. So sometimes I was trying to lose some weight working out. So I was outside my apartment, like maybe 5 meters on the opposite side of my apartment. So there's a Leo Palace, and I had on my pullover. It was dark, and I was just had on my headphones. I was doing some jumping jacks to warm to start a run. The police car just pulled up beside me and said, sorry, English, okay, English, Japanese, okay." I'm like, That time I was like 2 years in Japan, so my Japanese was garbage. Still is, but it's not real bad back in the day. And they were like, no, what called them? I said, oh, what are you like? They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm exercising. Going to run soon. They're like, oh, okay, you and they're like, you live here? I'm like, yeah, I live there. And they were, okay, kiosk ne, and that was it. I was in Aichi, and it was my first stop. Another stop happened when I was riding my bicycle because in Aichi they had the highest record of bicycle accidents between pedestrians, bicycles, and cars. One of the major reasons was the headphones wearing while riding the bike. I traveled maybe an hour by bike to go to school, so I'm riding my bicycle. And the first time I got stopped, he was like, "Yeah, so what's that?" I'm riding my bicycle, I'm not hearing anybody. This guy just steps out in front of me. I'm going at like maybe 20 kilometers per hour. Just going on. Wait, what? I stopped the bike. I said, go man. Abanai. I'm like, huh? Yeah, but no. Sugi, go man this. I'm like, what? So when he was saying to me, hey, it's dangerous, blah, 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 don't wear headphones. The next time we stop you, it's going to be like 50,000 yen as a fine. Cool. So that was IG. It was very, they were very kind, very relaxed. Nothing major. Cool. Chiba, I don't know what is about Kanto, bro, but like the police are next level aggressive or not really trusting you, or I don't know if it's the dreads or what, but it just gets the interaction is totally different. Um, the most recent, I think, the most distasteful one for me was my residence card expired maybe in June, sometime in June. Like the Saturday it expired, I came home the Sunday morning, walking home from the convenience store. I came through, I saw the police bike drive around this way. I'm like, no, 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 no. Wouldn't it be funny if this guy stopped me with my expired Zairo card? Hmm. Anyway, mind my business. I slowed my walk deliberately during the parking lot and he went up the road. So I'm like, okay, he's good, he's gone. No, 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 nobody. He came back down while I was about to cross. He said, someone said, someone said, I'm like, yes, sir. And he's like, overstay check. I'm like, what? You got to be kidding me. Like, is this, wait, how is this possible? All my years of my ID being expired, I've never had that issue. And the day, so he's like, so I'm like, hey, here's my card. I said, more what the kiddo? I know I already applied to my thing, my passport. The stamp is my passport back in my apartment. Nado. Demo, more what? And I'm like, I just said it. And he's okay. I told him I need to use check. So you, apartment go. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, it's a bit far. It's maybe 7 minutes walking. Daijoubu. He's like, Daijoubu. So he left his bike unattended and started walking with me. He thought I was lying. So I walk because I know the area. I've lived there for 3 years. I don't walk along the main road. I walk through shortcuts. So I'm walking between houses and whatever. He's like, oh, I know. I was like, okay, I shut up. I know. More bike, more take. I'm like, okay, go for your bike. So he has my card still. He made some calls over the phone to check whatever. I'm like, Jesus, this is so annoying. I actually took a little video of it just for my record keeping, whatever. So he rides around now because he has to ride around the main road, and I'm just cutting through, going doing my business. He finally catches me, and he runs back. Yeah. I'm like, oh, no, that's with this. I'm like, yeah, I know it's okay. I know it's okay. Because he would have called and checked the number at the top of my Zairo card, and he would have called the police, and I guess police checks with immigration or whatever, and they would have said, yes, he had applied for his extension, so we're processing it. So I'm like, bro, what? like 2 meters from my house. He stopped and said, so I said, I know it's okay. That's what it is. I'm like, I know it's okay. Why would he be? I'm not afraid. I'm not acting suspicious. So that was weird. And then just the last one, outside my apartment again, come home from Tokyo. A bit probably tipsy. I was practicing a song actually, walking on the road, practicing a song, and I'm outside my apartment, just outside below. Police comes and says, so I said, where are you coming from? I'm like, but this is strange. You're asking me this question. We have never seen each other before. It's like, well, I just came from Tokyo and I'm going to my apartment. Oh, you live here? I said, I live right there. Something said to me, Ranzo, go in your apartment right now before something happens. I go into my apartment, Ranzo, and I go on my balcony. 10 seconds later, a police car comes with his sirens flashing, coming around, and the guy goes to them and is like he's saying, maybe, I don't know, I saw a black guy, he looked like he was drunk or whatever, and I don't know, but I don't know where he is now. But I'm looking through a balcony like a little Karen, like, what the hell is going on? You could have heard of Piggles going to jail for no reason, right? But it was just really weird to me. I don't know. So those are my experiences with the police thus far. And I've seen other things, but I'll let somebody else talk. I've been talking for a while. So yeah.
Okay. All right, Joseph. So you can share because you sent me some stuff in the email. Okay, let me unmute you.
Um, Good evening, everyone, or good morning, whichever it is. I actually didn't say this. I'm from the United States, Washington D.C. Grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. So initially, what you talked about is our perception of the police in Japan. So first, I'm going to speak on America. America, straight up and down, hands down, don't like the police. From my youth, um, my parents talked to me about the police from the time that I was driving and even before. Just don't like the police. My interactions with the police, particularly in the United States, is overwhelmingly negative and actually dangerous and a little bit fearful. Thank God I don't have fear in me, but it's something to be very, very concerned about. With regard to the United States, actually, when I go back home, I will be speaking with a few police officers, people that I know very intimately who are police officers, who will tell me what's what because my son is a brown boy and I need to know what's going to be good for him when my family and I move back to the States. Now, as that relates to what I think about police in Japan, um, it's just a little bit annoying. When I compare the United States and Japan police, it's a little bit annoying. That's pretty much it. And actually, it's quite nice because it's not the US. I'm not in fear of my life. I'm not in fear of anybody else's life. That's first and foremost. Um, I am sorry, brother, that you went through what you went through, which is the reason why I reached out. One of my university colleagues, as soon as you posted that video, he sent it to me. He's like, watch it ASAP. And as soon as I watched it and watched it straight through, I was just like, yeah, I got to reach out. So, and that's the reason why I wanted to send you an email, which I did. And I wanted to send it to you privately because I can imagine what I will share, how it can be interpreted. But I'll say this first and foremost. I've been here 20 years. My interaction with the police has been somewhat good. And also, the first interaction was extremely negative. I've probably interacted with the police here as I was thinking about it, probably more than 10 times. And when I finally thought about the number, I was like, that's a bit much because I'm not sure if anybody else has had that kind of level of interaction with the police within Japan. And it gives me cause to think and have others think. So I love to talk, but I'd rather just kind of read through this a little bit, if that's okay. All right. So the title is Police, and it's part one. I'm only going to really deal with part one. So first, I'm sorry that you had the kind of experience that you had with the police in Japan. I would never take anyone's experience with the police for granted. Doesn't matter. It's your experience is valid. I've been living and working in Japan for the last 20 years. So as a Black American, I have a story or two to share. In 2002 was the first time I was stopped by the police in Japan. It was a heated experience. I was coming home from an English class late at night while riding a bicycle in the darkness of the countryside. Heated can't explain the anger and the oppressive attitude that I allowed myself to take over my thoughts. It was rough anger. It was anger with just searing pain. It was an oppressive attitude, and I allowed that into my thoughts. It moved over me like the waves of a sea. So as I look for solace within the JET community, that's the Japanese exchange teaching program, which I was a part of. So I look for solace within the JET community of Gifu Prefecture. I was told by my JET counterparts, Shogunai. Shogunai is Japanese, and it translates into English as it can't be helped. I was told that I was new to Japan and this was normal. But what I would like to do is I thank God for my friend Greg. He had been in Japan for a year. He lived near me in Gifu-ken. Greg is a white guy from California. I usually don't like to use those terms to describe people. But one thing about Greg, we got along really well because he enjoyed history. I enjoyed history. We talked. We had very deep, intimate levels of conversations. We would meet at his house every Monday evening, and we would watch Cold War videos. And I'm really into Cuba. So basically, Greg was empathetic to my experience, and he said, "Look, you can fight this if you want, but legally, you probably don't have anything to stand on." So that's exactly what we did. We went, looked up the law, and what we found out was, by Japanese law, the police have the right to ask for your Zaido card or Gaijin Torokusho, which is your residence card. In the States, it would be like your green card. They can ask you for your passport. They can ask you for your driver's license. Anytime, anywhere, any place, anyhow. So for me, this was extremely upsetting because when I came to this country, I was told that I was going to be an educator. I was holding an instructor visa, which allowed me to teach in the public schools here or municipal board of educations here. And I just didn't expect that I would be accosted the way I was. So when I was stopped, and it's countryside, anybody who knows about the countryside knows this is dark. No street lights, it's the moon. The only light that was there was a light from the bicycle that I was riding. And it was probably easy 8 to 10 police officers. And they were out on patrol. So they weren't in a car. They were actually walking out on patrol. What I saw from a distance was a group of people, a group of guys. So I was like, okay, let me ride. I'm gonna keep my pace. Let me ride and move away from this group. And like you said, they jumped out in front of me, and I was just like, brakes on, slide, and stop, because it was unexpected. Of course, at this time, I spoke zero Japanese, but what they did was one of the guys, obviously what I recognize now is they were talking amongst themselves, trying to figure out how to communicate with me. And somebody said passport. So I understood that. So I showed them my card, but needless to say, I was heated. So as an immigrant, cultural ambassador, and holding an instructor visa for the next 3 years with free teachers housing and a mountain of student debt, I had to weigh my experience. So here's the solution that Greg and I came up with. We had a meeting with the Kensho office, which is the governor's office in Gifu Prefecture. So we actually went to the governor's office. Okay. It wasn't a physical meeting. It was a meeting over the telephone. And what I asked for was, hey, if this is actually the law, then we need to inform all Gifu jets that they need to carry their residence cards. Period. Full stop. We also informed all the jets within Gifu-ken about the law. We informed not only the jets, but we informed the boards of education as well as the municipal boards of education that if they have jets, that they need to be proactive and register those jets with the local police station, because that's actually what the statute says. The statute says that you should go to your local police station and register yourself. The other thing that we did, which I really wasn't very satisfied with, was we contacted an organization called AJET, which was responsible for all jets nationwide, right? And we asked them to do the same thing. Not sure how that really went. There was follow-up, but they were dealing with a multitude of issues. Now, here's the reality of this. Every fiscal year, which happens in April in this country, personnel and government change. So that leads to the next year. So lastly, I'm gonna just finish up with this. Because I am a Black American, I am a part of the Black diaspora, but I would like to speak about this young lady who was on jet the following year. So here's what I wrote. A few new jets were stopped by the police. One was even arrested, kind of, sort of, or at least she was detained by the police at the police station. I cannot remember if she was Chinese American or Korean American, but that does come into play. But I do remember her story and how traumatized she was. She was in the country less than 2 weeks, and she was stopped by the police while riding her bicycle. The identification on her bicycle didn't match her identification card, so she was detained, arrested, if you will. She was being accused of stealing a bicycle. 2 weeks in the country, she hadn't learned that bicycles must be registered at the police station. The bicycle that she was riding was a gift from her predecessor, a fellow Jet. The police tried to interrogate her, but she spoke zero Japanese. Fortunately, this young woman teacher, she had a business card from one of the members of her board of education in her wallet. The police called that contact person, obviously the person being Japanese, and as the story went, this contact person stormed into the police office and said, why? Why did you steal a bicycle? After the story was explained to the contact person who spoke English, it was all sorted. But I remember that this woman, this teacher, this, whether she was Chinese American or Korean American, I can't remember that, I apologize. She felt like that her ethnicity did come into play. So I'll stop there. There's a part two to this with other interactions that I had, but those are probably the two really most painful and traumatic that I would share. There's another one that's kind of intense, but I'll share that later, time permitting. I want to give other folks an opportunity to speak.
All right. Thanks, Joseph. Abel, let me unmute you real quick. Yeah.
So, yeah, basically my experiences of being struck by police a lot. I think everybody has, I mean, a lot of experience with police as well. So like I have been stopped by them like maybe around like 20, yeah, 20 times I have been like stopped by them, and it has started from I think ever since I was maybe 15 like years old. I was junior high school student. I was still kind of little, and when like experienced the first uh, I mean it was devastating when I stopped by police for the first time, because it had never occurred to me in the past. It was just really shocking, and he asked me to show them my like ID card and also like resident card, right? It's called Zairu card, right, in Japanese. And I mean, well, I am Japanese. I'm born and raised in Japan. My mom Japanese. I mean, though my dad is Nigerian. I just like I'm just proud to be Japanese, and I like my country, and I loved where I was raised. But I was stopped by police. The place where I was raised, right in Yokohama, that was really devastating, to be honest, because that's like your hometown, like when you get stopped by police at your hometown, like you thought like, oh, that was like your place, you know, whom like you will be dealing with like maybe like forever. You will be loving it probably permanently. But yeah, it was just really shocking what happened at the location where I was, raised. Um, but like, I mean, not only that, yeah, just as I have told you, like I have a lot of experiences by them. So I think, yeah, I still have like some of their outstanding experiences with them. So when I was in Japan, like it was like last year, I was in Shinjuku. I was living in Shinjuku, Tokyo. Mm, I feel like I think policemen are I think way aggressive. The one in Kanagawa, Yokohama. When I was in Yokohama, well, it was kind of annoying still, but I think they are still, hmm, I would say, reasonable uh, to stop me. Like they try to, you know, make some excuses to stop you, right? I mean, yeah, when I was in, Yokohama, like, yeah, but like in Tokyo, just they stop you just for no reason. They just want you to stop. I mean, that's it. Um, when I was like walking to home in Shinjuku, the police just like, you know, they just approached me. I think, yeah, group of men. I think 4 or 5 police. That's kind of a lot. I think. I mean, just for one person. Um, yeah, it was kind of intimidating to me. And I asked them why, like, they stopped me. And they say, like, I was looking at their car that I had no idea. But they were claiming I was, you know, kept looking at the car, I mean, the police car, and I looked away and I stared at again, I looked away, that was their, like, excuse to stop me. Uh, I just didn't have any ideas and I didn't know what they're talking about. But anyway, from my experiences, like I thought it would be, just easier and faster to just, let them see just my baggage and wallet. Because like, if I say no, you know what's gonna be the consequences, right? And they will just like, keep chasing you. Yeah. So we basically don't have right to say no uh, to their, you know, questions. You just have to stop it. Yeah. So I showed them my ID cards and, the luggage. Um, it was normal for the first time. Um, but like later on, like they just like, touch my underwear, uh, just without saying anything. Uh, yeah, it was really, I don't know, it was going way too far. It's really private, right? I mean, yeah, like if you are, well, if you were to, I don't know if I should say it here, I mean, out loud, but if you were to touch the, like, what's it called, genitals in English, right? You should have, told me beforehand, and you need a consent, right? To ask me that first. That was really, I think, pretty intense, right? And I was just, it was really shocking. I didn't know what to say, but I think one word came out from me, like suddenly, wait, I was like, what? Why are you doing that? It was really shocking. Now my voice was kind of like, it sounded like I was like out of control. Um, they responded me that, oh, no, 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 no. There are some drugs in underwears. I mean, according to their information. Yeah, I think it might be true. Yeah, actually, I've heard that story too. Some of um, some of them who actually possess the drugs, um, they hide their drugs in their underwear so that they can kind of get away uh, from it. So that's why they do it, and that was their explanation. But even though they, they want to like check on my underwear, they should have just, yeah, yeah, they should have asked me before and just, yeah, get, you just like, you need a consent, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that was really shocking. Yeah.
S-
And
s- oh, keep going. Keep going.
yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. And another thing, I think there was, I think in Shinjuku as well. And when I was walking, I think I was kind of in rush. Mm. I was on my way to work, and police came to me and stopped me, as always. And they were like, yeah, they want to see like my ID cards, blah, 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 blah. And I was living in rush that time. That moment, especially that moment, I didn't have any time. I didn't have time to waste for them. I say, no, I don't have time for this. I'm on my way to work. Please let me go. But just they didn't listen to me. They just, they're like out of things that look suspicious around this area. So please, be patient and cooperate with it. Uh, I was, but like, I mean, I have told you, like, I'm really busy. I really have to go. But they responded me like, no, 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 no. It won't take a while. Eh, just a second. I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, I just didn't wanna, waste my time anymore. I just say, okay, okay, all right, yeah, just be quick. Um, you know, I know it was quick, but it was never true. It just kept going when I showed, my bags and other stuff. Like, they checked on my pockets as well, and they didn't see anything. Now, like, they wanted to see like my wallet, and they opened my wallet, and a lot thing happened was they were kind of sniffing like my wallet. It was the way he did was really intense. Was, yeah, he was really nasty. Like, he was like that, like so
I
he,
experienced that too. I experienced something like
yeah,
that. So
yeah,
I know you're. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
right. And it was really disrespectful. I was kind of mad, like, why would you do that on purpose? Like, you can just, you know I mean, I think there is another way to do it, like, but yeah, it just seemed like as if, uh, they're just, sensing like the just smells of drugs that I didn't have in my wallet. It was really like intentional. Yeah. Yeah. I just hated that. Yeah. And I just have a bunch of stories that were really shocking, but I think time's gonna run out, so I think I should wrap it up here. Yeah. I mean that. Yeah, that was a major experiences.
Yeah, wow, wow. Yeah, Abel, like, for you as a Japanese person, right? Like, that's intense. Like, you said over 20 encounters, and they're quite intense from what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Like, I
Right.
just can imagine, like, being. So, do you feel like nervous when you're on the street? Because especially Shinjuku is like a popular area, and you do modeling, so you're probably like in Shinjuku and maybe Harajuku, Shibuya, places like that all the time. So, how do you feel when you're walking? Do you feel nervous whenever you see a police car or police?
I I'm always prepared whenever I see them. So,
Okay.
just from my experiences, I have it a lot. So, like, okay, maybe it might happen again. Yeah, I'm always
Yeah.
prepared.
And what's the main reason that they give you for stopping you, right? Because of course your first language is Japanese. So what's the main reason that they give you every, like, when you look at all the times you've been stopped? What's the main thing that attracts them apparently, according to them?
Oh, I think one thing is the dreadlocks, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, and because every time I ask them the reason why they stopped, and they give you like other excuses to stop them, but when I was really like persistent, what's the real reason why you stop me? And they're like, oh, you know what? Like actually, like someone like you, like your hairstyle, you know, may have possibility with like posting drugs. That's what they
Mhm.
say. Yeah, but like you know, i- it's not my permanent hairstyle. Like there was a time where like when I had like shorter hair,
Mhm.
but that time too, like I was also stopped by police. So I feel like it doesn't really matter. Yeah,
Okay.
regardless of your hairstyle, you just if you are not Asian, I mean, if you don't look Japanese, yeah, there, I think, high possibility to get stopped by police, I think.
So when you produce like your ID and they see that you're Japanese, does it change the interaction or the encounter at all with them when they
I
look at your
feel
ID?
like, I feel like they are like, oh, you are really Japanese. And but, like, because my name is like kanji, even Abel is like written in kanji. So, yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, they have changed like their attitude after seeing like my insurance or whatever it is.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so we're gonna go to Gizmo. Can you close your curtain as well, Abel, just for the image? Because the light is peering in, coming in. So can you close your curtain behind you? Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah. So
Ranzo, you muted. You muted, Ranzo.
all right. Yeah,
All
Gizmo, your
right.
turn.
All right. So first and foremost, I'd like to say big up everybody in here for sharing their experiences. I know that it could be mainly dehumanizing. You feel like you're less than human when you enter this encounter with law enforcement. And that is not on our bad, that's on their bad. Japan, we're gonna play a little bit of devil's advocate. Japan being xenophobic, they encounter foreigners, whatever. It's like, oh my God, there's a foreigner. I got nothing else to do in this safe country. Let's harass the foreigner. I'll also say devil's advocate in the sense that this doesn't only happen to Black people, it happens to generally foreigners, because I had some people that are Caucasian in my city as well. And they've had the same harassment from law enforcement, but not as frequently as I've had it. So I would say in the realm of the foreigners, you have like your top tier foreigner, which would be like white, blonde hair, blue eyes. That's the top of the pyramid. And as you get down lower, you get to like the darker skins, or you get like the people that are Filipino, Vietnamese, Korean, Chinese, and Black people. And yeah, whatever. I'll also say that it really depends on where you live, that you may encounter more instances, because like Abel, shout out Abel, I live in a smaller city, and I'm so jaded to interacting with police at this point. It's crazy to me, because I'd say it happened like 2 or 3 times a year. 2 or 3 times a year. I've been here 11 years. 2 or 3 times a year. Police see me. They straight towards me. Okay, but for the most part, in comparison to law enforcement in the United States, I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago, and if you don't know Trinidad and Tobago, the majority of the populace is of African descent, African and Indian. So engagement is not the same as in the States. It's not the same as in the US, because when I was in the US, it's like, bro, Friday night, driving a car, getting pulled over, black on a Friday night. It's going to happen, right? And it has happened. And I also lived in New York, so I come from a background of like the people on my block, like you see the cops, you ain't even doing nothing wrong. Boom, you gone, jumping over fences and everything to get away from police, because you just didn't want any of that smoke. And coming from that, and my first impression with Japanese law enforcement, honestly, the first time I looked at Japanese law enforcement, I was like, oh, y'all ain't gonna catch me, bro. Like if I take off running, y'all ain't gonna catch me, bro. Like there's no way you catching me, dog. That's to be completely honest. But for the most part, I'll list the positives, because I don't want to have everyone think that it's fully negative. You got to take the black and the whites and the grays and everything. Japanese people and Japanese police officers, and every interaction I've had with them, it could be because of the city that I'm in. They've spoken to me very, very respectfully. They've asked very politely. They never really, I mean, they pressed me, but they pressed me politely. never as compared to the United States, where a police officer would just be straight disrespectful. And you just got to sit there and take it because you don't want no smoke. You don't want any smoke with this police officer. So you just got to take it. But at first, when I saw your video, Ranzo, I have I understood it. It really affected you because it was your residence. This is your home. This is your nest. This is your safe house, right? So for them to pull up on you like that, like you feel like emasculated in a sense as a man. Like this is your house. Your children are in here, and you as a man, this is your family, your protection. And in that situation, you feel like helpless. Jeez, my English sucks now. But because I was thinking, I wanted to say a story that when the police actually came to my house, I was living in an apartment in my city in Hamamatsu, and I was just playing my music slightly, not too heavy. I was playing a little bit, and a new neighbor moved in, and the neighbor came in, knocked on my door. He said, like, hey, could you turn the music down? No problem, man. Of course. I'm really, really sorry. I apologize. Everything in Japanese. I can speak a bit of Japanese, and went on my way. The next day, playing music. I'm kidding you not. Super small apartment, barely playing the music loud enough that I could hear it in the kitchen while I'm cooking. Like as I turned the faucet on, I can't even hear the music. That's how silent I was playing it. Dude comes over again and tells me I should use my headphones. I was like, hold up. You could ask me to turn the music down, but when you come over here and you start being like, yo, wear your headphones, you tripping. So, okay, turn the music down. And I was like, it's Saturday, 1 p.m. I could play my music while I'm doing laundry and stuff. Man starts calling the police. Police shows up. They're like, oh, you're a foreigner. Well, you know what? We need to see your ID. Oh, well, we see your ID, Zaru card. Oh, I need to see your passport. And like, I'm just standing there dealing with these. So I'm pissed at this point because you brought the police to my house now. And I have to stand here and deal with these dudes, right? And I went through the dance. They talked to me. How long you here? What are you doing here? Yada, yada, yada. Because as I imagine, police in my city don't have much else to do. So this is the highlight of their day. And I go through that dance and end up leaving. And I just played my music a little bit again. He called them again. They came back. I dealt with them. Actually, I was pissed at this point because I was fed up with this dude, right? And I wanted the police officers to understand how loud the music actually was because it wasn't loud at all. I opened the door. The music was at its volume and they didn't even hear it. I was like, come to my crib. Come in my crib. This is how loud I'm playing the music. And they're like, wakarimasu kedo, like think about your neighbor, like maybe it's not loud to us, but you got to think about your neighbors, blah blah blah. So at that point I was like, yo, I'm cool. But the problem after that, the real issue I had with this was after that I was getting like routine checkups by the police where they would just drop by to see what I was up to, and that I wasn't rocking with. And I'm not going to say it's because I'm black. I've heard this happening to other foreigners as well that aren't black. But like they're just like ping pong. I looking, oh, what's up? I see the police there. I was like, I don't see no warrant. Well, guess what? I ain't home because ain't no reason for me to open the door. But that was the main thing. And after that as well, I was getting letters in the mail from the police saying like, hey, you lost something and you need to come to the police department to pick it up. Not stating what it was. And not saying what it was. And I was like, bro, are you crazy? You think I was born yet? You think I'm gonna go to the police department to pick up? That's a trap, son. Y'all ain't catching me slipping like that. But yeah, that's just a few instances. Those aren't like where they stop me in the street or anything like that. And yeah, for me, when I heard your story, Ranzo, the first story was like, oh, when they came to my crib. But I think I've dealt with police in my city for so long that I was just genuinely jaded to it. And at this point, when they stop me or want to ask me stuff, I'm just like, yo, jikan ga nai. I don't got time. Shigoto ga aru. Dono gurai kakaru? Like, how long is it going to take? You got 2 minutes. Start the timer on your phone, whatever. Like, you got your 2 minutes. Like, you ain't frisking me this time. Because I had a situation where they did the same thing that they did to Abel, where they want to go through my stuff because they think because I have dreads that I got drugs on me or something. So, but anyway, don't let me talk too long. I'd say it depends where you live. It's mainly a foreigner thing, to be completely honest with you. It's if you're a foreigner, but when you're on the lower totem pole of the foreigner, totem pole, then you're probably going to deal with a lot more issues. So, yeah.
Yeah. When I did the video, a lot of people, like even Japanese people, were commenting, right, and talking about just the way it is, like in Japan, like the rules that even Japanese people get stopped. I've seen Japanese people, with like bicycle on the side, and the police is there, going
Yeah.
through bags and stuff like that. I don't know what the reason why they stopped the person. I don't know what that is. But mine was different. This one I was stopped once. The thing is this, right? You expect there to be a reason, something legitimate. You understand? Like, and that's the thing. I remember there was a pastor stopped in America. Well, not stopped. Actually, was water in the garden of his neighbor. If you guys have seen that, have you guys seen it? That was one of the most ridiculous things, and I understood the way the pastor felt because people were saying it was being rude. But I'm like, you're doing a good deed for your neighbor. You're watering the plants while they're away.
Yeah.
They ask you to do it, so you're doing
Mm-hmm.
this thing. And police, they came up and they're asking you, what are you doing here? I'm like, I cannot. When they came to my house, I understood exactly why he was the
Yeah.
way he was, because you're just like, it's so preposterous. You're just like, that's the thing. That's the thing that got me, like, caught me off guard. I was so cheesed. Because the first time I understood the first time in Shinjuku, Shibuya. I was skateboarding back in what, 2017 maybe it was, or 2018. I was doing a
Mm-hmm.
live stream, and I used to do live streams a lot back then. I call them like night adventures, right? Because usually you have the izakaya. It's always like Tokyo come alive in the nighttime is a different atmosphere and personality to the city. So I like exploring it in the nighttime. So it was like midnight in Shibuya, and that was caught live as well. They stopped me because I was skateboarding on the sidewalk, and apparently I shouldn't have. I'm like, okay, so I never knew that. I got off my thing. They ran across the street, just like you said. The car came up, they darted across the street, right in front of my path. Yeah, right in front of my path, right? I'm like, imagine if I couldn't stop. I'm like, come on now. But they came in, I just hopped off, right? And when you're going on a skateboard, it's kind of dangerous to just, but I got off, and they asked me if they could search my bag, and they took out my microphone. You guys know, like microphone, the small one, the lavalier. There's like
Yeah.
a transparent like Ziploc bag, and they were smelling it just like what Abel said, sniffing it and stuff.
Oh.
Bro, yes, I'm Jamaican, but I don't smoke, bro. I've never smoked. I've never done drugs. You get what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's not my thing. I don't do it. Right. So it was funny to me that they were just sniffing the thing, and I'm just like, okay, I guess he's smelling for marijuana or something, right? So that whole thing, it was caught live because up until that point, I hadn't been stopped, but I've heard stories. So I'm like, okay, well, I haven't been stopped. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like, all right. And some people think because you haven't been stopped that it doesn't happen. It takes sometimes one experience, because the one that happened recently really, really put a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just takes one experience, right? Because the first one, people were saying, oh, Ranzo, you're smiling, you're laughing. I'm like, it was fine. The guy was respectable. He was talking to me, like, there's waving to the camera, like, hi, YouTube. So I never felt any animosity or any reason to be like, yo, what go on. Plus, I'm live streaming, so you guys know it's content, right? So I'm like, hey, let me just capture this. So in my mind, I'm just capturing it because this is happening in real life. So I'm like, you know what? You guys want, this is what it is. So I have my camera there. So I'm like, understood, left that. The second time, so that one, I'm like, okay, no quarrel, because okay, it's late. I was on the sidewalk skateboarding. I shouldn't have done that. From that, I haven't done it. Understood. Okay, cool. Second time I was riding to Mount Fuji from Tokyo, right? So it was a crazy journey. I had on I had on my this sweatsuit late at night. I'm leaving at like 3 o'clock in the morning because the sun is high, summertime. And the sun in Japan. I don't want to like burn alive. So I was like, okay, let me leave early. By the time I get to like Mount Fuji, I never made it all the way. I rode to like what's the word? Agokigahara Forest. I don't want to say the S word. That forest, right? That Logan Paul went to. Yeah, that forest that Logan Paul went to.
The Logan
So
Paul
I rode.
Forest.
Yeah, I rode all the way there, and I was actually exploring it. It's actually beautiful, actually. On the peripheral, like outside, not really deep inside of it, right? So I was riding the nighttime, so I had like my mama cherry, right? That's what I was riding, right? So crazy, like trust me, I worked up my thighs that night. So the police, I saw the car coming, and they turned around, like made a U-turn and just ran out across the street, right? So I'm there. The mama cherry had a cover because I had like food supplies, because I need like my energy drinks and stuff so I can make it, so I don't die on the way, right? Anyways, so dude came out, both of them, right? So this was the second time, and the attitude was very, very different from the first time in Shibuya. But there was an older police and a younger one, right? And the older one hardly spoke, and it was definitely like you could see the sort of mean mug on his face.
Yeah.
You
were training. You were a training exercise for the younger one. That's what they'd be doing.
Okay, it was very intense, because the guy was like, they're asking me like, oh, what am I doing and stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm there. I'm like, okay. I saw them coming. I'm like, all right. The first time they never asked me for my ID, right? They just searched my bag, and they just searched my pocket. I think probably did, but they searched my bag. You guys can watch the videos on the channel. But this time They were there. I just gave them my ID. I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me just give them the ID because it's almost like they're just standing up there, not asking any questions. So it was a bit awkward. So I'm like, okay, I give my ID. They're looking at it. Okay, they look at it. Okay, it's fine, whatever. And then they're just still standing there. I'm like, okay, like, are you guys? Do you guys want something else? So I just gave another ID and another ID and another ID or my cards and stuff. I'm like, same name, same person. You see my face, whatever the case is, right? And then I'm like, okay, they're still standing there after like giving me all my stuff. I was live streaming again, but the camera was actually pointing toward the road, so you couldn't actually see the police officer, unfortunately. But so I'm like, okay, you know what? They're looking for, when someone's looking for a problem, looking for a reason to do something. So I'm like, okay, I gotta find a way to remove this, to like ease this tension that's going on right now. So I was like, okay, I just told them what I was doing because I know it's to people it's crazy. Riding from Tokyo to Mount Fuji is insane, right? It's like I don't know how long it took me, many hours, to the force. So I just used that to break the ice. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm going here, blah blah, and they're like, huh? They were so surprised. So that kind of like broke that sort of like tense moment. And then I just explained really quickly. Even then I was studying Japanese even harder. Like I think my Japanese was even better then than even right now. Anyways, we're moving on. So I explained whatever, and they let me go. That's when they actually let me go, right? So they did the reluctantly. When they're done, they do the arigato gozaimashita, that thing, like saluting or whatever. This time, the first stop, they did that and they were smiling. This time, they reluctantly, you could see they're moving so slow. For some reason, I guess they never got what they wanted. So they reluctantly did that. I'm like, okay, you know what? It's late at night. Maybe I look suspicious riding this thing. I'm like, okay, I understand that. So when I understand something and you see it and it looks reasonable, you're fine as a human. But what happened at my house, that made zero sense. And that was the reason why I was irate. I barely exchanged any words with the police officer that day, right? Because I'm there. And of course, I don't want to bring like a car or whatever into the situation, but I think that has something to do with it. That's why the reason why I was mad too. I never knew that Japanese people paid attention to stuff like that, right? Because the thing is, I had another car, of course, for like almost 2 years. And no problems. Do the same thing. You go outside, like go maybe whatever your car say might do something or whatever to the car, whatever. Nothing ever. Late at night, daytime, nothing. Right?
The new car too nice for you.
Literally,
too nice for your skin.
Less than a week. I've had a car for less than a week. Less than a week. Okay, so all these things are in my mind. The first night when I drove it home, my wife came out because I'm sure she came outside with my daughters or whatever. And then this random guy. So this is the thing. This is the backstory. Some dude I've never seen him before came out to the driveway and standing almost like parallel to the car. It was so weird. I'm just like, why is this guy here? He's standing in the street and he's on his phone. And I never really got it. Like I don't know what he's doing. I'm like, okay, I saw him, but I was thinking maybe someone is going to pick him up on the side of the street. He's in the road on the asphalt, not on the curb. So I was like, okay, that kind of looked kind of suspicious to me, first of all, right? I'm like, okay, maybe it's just some random dude that's, I don't know, trying to get signal. I don't know, which wouldn't even make sense because there's nowhere there. Like it's like some garden flower thing or whatever. So even my wife, she was like, I'm like, do you see that guy? She's like, yeah, I don't know, it's odd. Guy kind of moved, kind of came back, and then he's gone. I don't know who that guy is. So I'm like, okay, that was the first time. Then the day before the police came, these guys came out, right? This one guy came out. I'm in the car, and he's standing like right next to the car in the next parking spot. And I'm like, okay, I don't get it. Then the dude walked the long way and went back into the building. Like I guess he went back in the building. Then another guy came out from the same place, right? Because there's a business place close by. The guy came out, stood right next to where I was and just looking. So in my mind, I'm just noticing. I'm like, okay, this is so weird. Like, why are these people just coming out randomly? I've never seen stuff like this before, ever. And I'm pretty observant. Never ever seen it. So this is what I've been observing. Then the next day, I'm outside now. Finally ordered stuff from Amazon. Got some stuff and putting it in the car, whatever. Right? No music, because even Japanese people are saying, well, were you playing music in the car? Were you in the road? I'm like, look, yo, I'm very, very like, what's the word I'm trying to find? I make sure as a black person, I don't do anything that's strange. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm making sure no music is playing. I'm there. I'm just like, just doing my thing, making sure I'm just doing my thing as discreet as possible or whatever. Put it on a sticker or whatever, going into the car, setting up stuff, whatever. Doing my thing. The next thing I knew was I heard like, first of all, I saw a police car drove by. I'm like, okay, I don't know, kind of strange. One went by. My wife said she saw 2 more cars after that, right? That went by. Which seems more, no, it seems more than usual because I'm in my mind, I'm like, okay, maybe the first thing was someone, maybe, I don't know, someone called and they're probably checking. I don't know, right? Because I'm there. Then when I was, my back was to the road, right? So I'm there, and then I just heard, I don't know what they said. It said something. I turned around. Yeah, I don't know what they said, bro, because I was just doing my thing. And then 2 of them were behind me, and they were the first thing he said was asking me where my house was. So I was just like, when I saw them, I knew exactly what it was, because in my mind I'm like, okay, I'm out here. I've been out here for a little bit, so I'm like, okay, maybe somebody. I'm like, that must have been it. So I was already thinking, okay, these weird activities with these guys coming out. Are you trying to tell me that someone really called the police? So I was already not in a good mood. I'm just like, really? And there's nothing wrong. The problem with that moment was I was doing nothing illegal, nothing wrong, breaking no rules whatsoever. So that's why I was really upset, because I'm just like, and then of course my wife is in the house, baby's in the house, my first daughter is in the house as well, right? So I'm just like, man, like, yo, they came to my house. So it was asking about us. I was just like, I just pointed. I'm just like, yo, right there, literally.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I know it's a new car, but are you also in a new place as well?
No, I've been here for over 2 years, almost 2.5 years at this location.
What about this random person you're talking about? Are they
I don't
new
know
to the neighborhood?
I don't know who the person is. I've never seen the guy before from that day. And even afterwards, I haven't seen the guy before. I've never seen him. Like when my wife and I moved in, we introduced ourselves to all our neighbors because we learned that, right? So even though some people move in sometimes and they don't say anything, I guess they don't practice that anymore. But when we moved in, we went to every single house and gave introduce ourselves, give them a gift, right? So that's what we learned. Our Japanese friend taught us that. Right. So every time we moved just once since we've been here. So we lived at 2 separate addresses, right? So I went in, gave people. So people are pretty chill. Even the old couple that lived next to us, every time they saw us, they would make sure, when someone is walking by and there's no eye contact. So this old lady, for instance, she was always look and wait until we made eye contact to say hi, and then she just went. So they were really, really, cordial. It was really cool. We have zero issues. Like when I say zero, I mean zero. Yeah. Right. Yeah, so it was. So when that happened, like I was really, I was like, okay, that's my house. I'm still doing the same thing. I just turned my back to them. To be honest, I was just like, I'm not having it. I was out of it. I was just like, you know what? This is crazy. This is nuts. They sent them to my house, and then people are over there looking. People are looking. Just like, yo, are you really telling me that someone was
that's
really
the worst, man? No, because like in the head of a Japanese person, it's like they got another one. There's the foreigner doing the bad things, like we know they are, because like that's the worst part. Like a bunch of police are surrounding you, and everyone's just looking, driving by slow, like, oh, it's a foreigner, like it's a black dude. What's he doing? And that sucks.
Well, that sucks. Absolutely. I'll say this again. Your experience, I'm so sad to hear it. And me being here as long as I've been here, I got nothing, because this is not the beginning of the fiscal year. You've introduced yourself to everybody in the neighborhood. You're not in a new place. And it's like what Gizmo said, as I'm listening to everybody's accounts, I'm like, you know what? This really does have a different tone from, where you are, because I'm still in basically the countryside. And for me, I've had some negative experiences, but I've also had some extremely positive experiences. And I will say this, where my level of Japanese is right now, like, I'll tell you what's good. So, a couple years, about 8 years ago now, a friend of mine from Harlem, New York, he came. He's now living and working in Japan. And he was staying with us until he moved into his own place. And we had an older Japanese gentleman knock on the door. We have an intercom here. So I answered the door via intercom. And of course, I'm just speaking Japanese. That's normal right now. And when he said it was the police, I'm like, okay, I know what this is. Because it's the beginning of the fiscal year. He's making the rounds. He's checking. He's probably a transfer. And that's exactly what it was. So long and short, when I opened the door, he was like taken aback. He was completely shocked. He's like, and he told me, he's like, I thought you were Japanese. He's like, your Japanese is perfect. And I was like, well, are you new to the area? Like, I was interviewing him. I was like, you new to the area? He's like, yeah, I can't remember where he came from. He transferred in. So I said, well, let me get my passport. I was like, hold on for a second. I invited him in, to the entranceway. And then I told my wife, who's Japanese again. I'll say that again. And so he was just like, oh, okay. And then my son came down and I was like, let me get my friend who's also living here. So we've registered everybody. But then this particular cop, he was just like, hey, because there's an apartment next door to our house. And he's like, hey, do you know this particular person, such and such neighbor? I was like, I do. He's like, yeah, I've been trying to reach him. I can't get in contact with him. So the police do make their rounds around the neighborhood, but that doesn't sound like it's your case. Like, I don't.
Sounds like you got a hater. You got Nobita living in your neighborhood, bro. He's like, there he is right there.
Look, trust me. The thing is, I believe I'm a reasonable person, right? So usually I try to do a process of elimination. If there was no reason There was no reason for that to happen, right? So in my mind, that's why I was like, I was pissed, cheese, whatever. Because, and even the same morning, I went to the police station to get my parking certificate, right? So you have to go there, right? The same morning, went to the police station, got my certificate, right? Drove the same car, parked in the parking lot at that police station. So I'm just like, okay, well, I guess whatever. Went there, got my stuff. The car's registered to the spot, as you guys know how it is, right? Went to the place, registered the car myself, spent the time, whatever, got a new license plate, blah, blah, and came and parked the car the same day. So I was just doing everything that same day. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this one day, do everything I need to do, get this, because, the paperwork and stuff, it just takes too much time or whatever. So I wanted to spend one day, finish everything up. So when they came, and again, people are walking by, these kids were riding a bicycle. Maybe they were like my daughter's age, like maybe second, 2 grade, didn't say, like 7, 8, 9, maybe 10, right? Riding by, people walking dogs, so a lot of people are walking by, cars driving by because there's a main road close by. So there was, so it might not have been a neighbor. I don't know. I can't say who made the call, right? I can't say who it was, but a lot of people walk by the kids, oh, nice car, blah, blah, a few times. I'm like, okay, kids, they just do stuff or whatever. Police came, and it was when I saw them, I was like, you know what? I know it's about the car, because they're looking, he's like, oh, look, ask me about the car seats. I'm like, yeah, well, yeah, it's for my daughter. She's in my family in the house, blah, blah, whatever. I just said, just short answers to the guy. Yeah. I took out my, the registration, gave it to him. And then I was thinking in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, he's looking at it. He's not sure if that's me because, my name is there, but still, like, there's no picture. So I'm like, you know what? Let me give him my driver's license just so you can actually look at the name, see it's the same, and match my face to my face, right? So I'm thinking ahead because I'm just trying to furnish that. So I did that, of course. And then they're looking at it. And once I actually produced the document, the demeanor changed, because I guess they're like, okay, well, if he's showing me something, it must mean that there's something. So the guy started to make small talk, but I wasn't in the mood, because I'm like, it's embarrassing. First of all, are you trying to tell me, like, bro, like, this is so embarrassing beyond even words. So my wife, apparently, she said she just sensed to come, and she looked to the window when they came out, because I'm telling him that, I'm like, my family, they're asking about my family. I'm like, yeah, they're in the house. So she came out with a baby strapped onto her. So of course, clearly my family, you see that now, the whole thing started just unraveling. Like, they're like, okay, like, clearly we see the car seat. This is a young baby. Then Tiffany came up behind her mom. So the whole thing, like, I guess they kind of came and expedited the process. But the thing too is, when I gave him my driver's license, he radioed in, right? And I heard him just saying some stuff. So I guess he's calling the numbers or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, he still had to go that far. You see my bald head. You see my driver's license, because I renewed it recently. It's the same person, but you had to call in still and check all my stuff to make sure that everything is fine or whatever. And when they were apologizing to me afterwards, I wasn't even trying to hear it, right? So they did that, and they kind of like slowly left, because honestly, I was very, very antisocial that day. I never said anything disrespectful, but like my body language spoke volumes, right? And the lack of words spoke a lot. But I think that was the most irate I've ever been with a police interaction in Japan, because it was my home. If it was somewhere else and they stopped me, that's fine. But they came to my house, and then my daughter came out. Even my wife said to her, she said to Tiffany, she's like, yo, I'm going outside with daddy. Because she was trying to tell Tiffany to come out first, to run out first, right? And Tiffany was asking why. And she's like, do you see what's going on? And she's like, what? She said, who is your father with? And she's like, oh, 2 people. My daughter never even said police. She just saw me with 2 people. So she wasn't even thinking that this was like a potential negative exchange or encounter going on. So she came out eventually, and of course I spoke to my daughter about it, and I'm asking her, like, do you know why they came out or whatever, came and stopped me. So it was just like, so that's why I made I sort of think about it. They came to my house, that's one, and I never knew that Japanese people, whoever called them is because, of course, when I'm there with the Honda, no one has a problem. It's just like a Japanese car is fine, nothing whatsoever. Maybe some people, when they see a foreigner driving, they might look and they might be like, oh, a foreigner, right? But now it's like a different car, so I guess it doesn't. You get what I'm saying? Like, just, it doesn't look right. They might just be thinking things. And so now it's almost like, I'm like, okay, no, like, too much attention. Just people look 1, 2 times, right? So I don't know.
Ranzo, I think you were completely right to bring attention to this, because Japan is 99% Japanese, right? And the amount of encounters I've had with police over my 11 years here, there's people that have lived here their entire life that are Japanese that have never encountered anything with police. So it's not right. It's like, what? They did that? What? Oh, they frisked you? Like, what? Like, that's crazy. And that's not right. It's wrong. Abel is Japanese. I mean, Abel, I'm sure you may have had a few friends that would be like, dude, that's never happened to me. That kind of stuff has never even occurred to me. So it's definitely, right. It's a problem. It's a problem.
Right. I
So
mean,
yeah,
what Abel, what you talked about, I'm
yeah, that's
floored
crazy.
because here's my thing. Once my level of Japanese shot through the roof and 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 I could communicate effectively, like again, coming from the States, it's a different mindset, it's a different mentality. So for me, I know what it means for you to be Japanese. Anybody else that's watching this video may not understand. Me being here 20 years, bruh, you Japanese. You speak fluent Japanese. So that should be the end of it. And to hear, these are my words, that you were accosted the way you were, I'm like, that's not cool on any level. And I want to say this. This is what switched a lot of things up for me. I'm here on Jet. I'm moving into my second year. I have two very lifelong friends that I met here, Tanya and Vanessa, both from Jamaica, right? And, I was having some issue, and this wasn't really with the police, but here's what they said to me. They said, Joe, do you know we call you Black Joe within the Jamaican Jet community? And I was like, really? What does that mean? I didn't get it. They were like, you're so black, and you think that every issue that you're having that's negative in Japan is because of your blackness. And they're like, we come from a black country. That ain't it. That ain't every issue. It's probably more of a culture exchange. So I began to take a different view of things. But to hear Abel speak tonight, yeah, that attention, if not for not what you said, Abel, hey man, it's not right on any level, because there is no language barrier, there is no cultural barrier. It's how you look. And my son, being half Black American, being half Japanese, like I'm like, I don't want him to go through that on any level, on any level, on any day. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Abel, you want to respond? You're muted, Abel. Do you want to respond?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So I feel like people are just judging you based off your skin color. It doesn't matter, like, which country you're from, because I mean, as I have told you, I'm Japanese. I'm born and raised in Japan. Like, I'm culturally Japanese, but even if I explain to them, I'm born and raised in Japan, my mom Japanese, I mean, they still just keep searching my stuff. So it really doesn't matter. It really has to do is like just your look. If you look suspicious, if you're different from somebody else, yeah, just that's how you're treated. That's what you have to go through. And I mean, no offense, I love my country. I love Japanese people, but it's just really uncomfortable for someone that just who are like misfits. I don't know if the right word to say, but like I think I consider myself misfits in Japanese society because I don't look like typical Japanese. So I mean, me here, like being in UK, is, to be honest, a lot more comfortable than being in Japan. To be honest, I like my parents. I like people in Japan. But no offense, I mean, I just feel out comfortable living in overseas rather than in Japan. Yeah, that's just my honest opinion. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I understand that opinion about feeling a lot comfortable in a different place. When it
Yeah.
comes, I love my home country. Don't misunderstand me. But when
Mhm.
it comes to dealing with interacting with the police, I am a lot more comfortable here than I am at home. I just am, you know. That's just a reality. My experiences in the United States with the police, registering for Howard University, not being familiar, even though from DC, but growing up in Baltimore, not being familiar with the roads and being stopped by park police who was completely belligerent and told me that I was, messing with his day. He didn't use those words. He used much stronger, colorful language. And I'm like, I'm just registering for school. How am I bothering you? And once he finally heard me, it was just like, he just kind of realized, okay, yeah, I'm wrong. And that was 1996. I don't know what that would have been if it had been the later 2000s. I'm just saying. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. Feeling more comfortable. And Enzo, I understand what you're saying about at your house. That got to you for a reason. You know, whether it's your sanctuary, whether it's your family there. I mean, one father to another, I definitely understand Papa Bear mode, but that got to you. And I hope somebody can offer a suggestion as to why, but you can go get the report and demand why they stopped you. They have to tell you that. So I would definitely do that.
Yeah. I'm gonna look into it. Piggles.
Yeah, I don't want to lose a train of thought. We need to remember that the police are also Japanese people, and the mindset that they have is representative of a lot of what Japanese people feel. And I remember coming here initially. Remember Ariana Morimoto, is it? The first half Japanese Miss Japan, and the
Yes, sir. Yes,
uproar
sir.
about somebody because she doesn't look like me, so she can't represent me. I was shocked out of my mind because coming from Jamaica and the Caribbean, where we're basically mostly ethnic, we see people that are Asian growing up, we see people that are white growing up. So it's just a part of our thing. So it's not a shock to us. And it really stuck to me at that point. And that was like 2015, 16. Japan has been getting better in terms of being more accepting of persons that don't look like them that are Japanese. But you still see that if you're not the typically looking Japanese person, you're going to have a problem here in certain situations. I remember also if you associate with a certain type of Japanese person as well, or with a foreigner, you get clumped into that stereotype. Um, uh, in Nagoya again, not, can't believe I forgot this. In Nagoya station, walking with a Japanese girl, looks fully Japanese. The Nagoya police stopped me and said, "Hey, can I have both your Zaire cards?" So I look at the girl and she looks at me like, wait, what? Nihonjin da yo? Oh, so sorry. And he just focused on me after that. So I wonder, like, how many of these things, if you just say you're Japanese and have the proper Hogan and the pronunciation, how many things you can get away with, even if you're not probably Japanese. So it's, I guess, the xenophobia sometimes creeps through when it shouldn't be creeping through. And so we have to be mindful of that, but I don't know. I don't know that. The only good thing I'm glad about Japanese police, they're not violent like that. That's the only thing we probably could be glad with, because if they're actually proper aggressive, probably would have different stories now. So for that, I'm grateful. You know what I mean? So yeah. And Abel, boy, I don't know how you did, bro. 'Cause I would have flipped up as a Japanese. I let them know, hey, listen, buddy, I am Japanese. You're not touching my. Mm. Sorry, yeah. All right.
Right. So someone is asking in the comment section, like, why does the whole panel have dreads? Look, it wasn't intentional nor contrived. It just happened. Right. It just happened. Right.
I,
Pickles
I
reached out
have
to me.
sorry. I've had dreads. I have had dreads since 1996. I will have dreads until the day that I depart, Lord willing, because it is a part of my cultural heritage, and I'm from the States, and I know if I work at a place and you say something about my hair or my dreads, you've already told me your thinking and mentality. That's why I lock my hair. That's why I will continue to lock my hair. I am a university lecturer who has dreads. Full stop. Everybody in the world needs to deal with it. It is a cultural heritage. And yes, I let my students touch my hair. You gotta ask, you get one time, and that's it. And I tell them, this is Joseph allowing you to do this. You don't walk up to anybody else and touch their hair. You may not even ask, because that may be considered offensive and rude. So they walk away with a lesson in understanding. But what's interesting is the teachers who touch my hair and pass. And what about when I first arrived, the guy who touched my hair, guy teacher, 40 something years of age. Like, what are you doing? Don't touch my hair. So yeah, I think it just happened.
Yeah,
Take a
I
photo,
mean,
please.
this of course this is all coincidence, but once we started this
Yeah.
conversation, I was like, yo, one of these things is not like the other, my guy. But like honestly, I've gotten stopped and frisked prior to having dreads. I came to Japan. I used to, get the butchered fade from the Japanese dudes that ain't know how to cut black hair at all. And I rocked that. But even in those situations, police would stop me and give me the rundown. And I got to do the dance. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, I don't think I actually got frisked while I had short hair, but when my dreads came in, that's when they wanted to frisk me. And that's when they want to go through my stuff. They're really pressured because I mean, their interpretation is that dreadlocks, drug association, marijuana, whatever. So yeah. And I'll also say, yeah, we all have dreads, but I have other fellow people, melanated individuals that have been stopped by police that do not have dreads and they have to go through the same dance as well. So like I said, it's the foreigner totem pole. You got your Caucasians at the top. They get the smoke too. But as you go down the totem pole and you get the more melanated individuals or people that are obviously Filipino or from like Vietnam or like obviously Chinese or Korean or something, they're gonna catch a lot more smoke from law enforcement. That's I'm an idiot, so take it with a grain of salt.
All right. So wait, let's see. Do we have any comments? Any questions? I should say it's 9:37. I said we're gonna conclude by the latest, like 10:15, which is gonna be like 2 hours. Any comments? I want to go through the article, but I don't know. Do you guys want me to like go through it, or what do you guys think? I think it has some really good stuff in it. Again, if you guys want to just check the article, if you're gonna leave, those who are watching, the link is in the description down below. It talks more about the law, like Joseph spoke about it, just the way it is. So there's a lot of things that are implied and expected and all these things, but I think it would really, really serve as a good resource. And the person that wrote it is not black. I think it might be a white person that wrote the article, if I'm not mistaken. Did he say it? But I wonder, what do you guys think? Should I go through the bit?
I'm having a great time. So y'all,
Bro,
it's all on
yeah.
y'all, man. I'm having a good time, man.
It's totally your call. I just, I'm really here because I wanted to support you and your family. Like because to the rest of the world, Japan is wonderful. As a matter of fact, I think any person of color, if you come to Japan, it's going to change how you think about yourself, because a lot of times here, as Gizmo said, I'm American. I'm not black here. At least where I live in Gifu Prefecture, right? That's been my experience, right? So my take on I didn't mention this earlier, but coming here being stopped the first time by the police, it made me think about reparations for Black Americans in a completely different way. Japan is for the Japanese. This is their land. This is their country. They own it. Full stop. So for me, this is, you mentioned solution, and I think solution is important. For me, registering, like, okay, this is the law, let me register, but the red tape kicked in, seeing this again, like I said, I can't remember if she was Chinese American or Korean American. I do remember her ethnicity came into play. I do have some friends, worldwide friends, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, all over, who don't look like the people on this panel. But again, I'm now jacked because of what Abel said. Like, I just, so solution, however you want to handle it, brother. It's this is, we here for you.
Yeah. So what I think, I might let people read it. If you're concerned, if you want to understand the behind the scenes in terms of the way the police are, check out that article. Because again, the book that the author, the journalist covered was written by an ex-Japanese police officer, right? So he literally offloaded all the secrets about like the way they see people and what's it called in Japanese? The stop. There's a term for it. Because the title of the article is "Go with the Flow." What to do when the Japanese police stop you for questioning, right? And this was August 18, 2022, so it's very, very, very recent. And the person's name that wrote the article is Colin P.A. Jones, contributing writer for Japan Times, right? And what's it? Oh, is this what it's called? Yeah, I think it's called what? Shokumu Shitsumon. Like, I think that's what they call it. Like even pronunciations bad or whatever, but that's it. Police questioning, right? So when they stop you, that's like the thing. And so you can read through it. I think it might just, I don't want to read it because it's going to break the flow, but you guys can check the link And if you're contemplating coming to Japan, you definitely should read this article. Like 100% recommend it. You can also listen to it. It's like 9 minutes, 24 seconds. You will get some insights. You'll understand just the Code of Criminal Procedure, all these things. The Police Duties Execution Act of 1948, like all these things, you can go through it. Really good stuff. And if you can read Japanese, definitely get the book and read the book. There's a lot of insight just to understand the psyche of the police officers, even though by law, apparently saying it seems like you could say no to certain things, but it's almost like not really. Right. So read the article, educate yourself. And as Joseph said, and something I think I will do as well is register my family at the police station. I've never done that before. At least so they know. So I think I might do that because, of course, we're not criminals. So I'm like, I'm not afraid. You get what I'm saying? So I think that's something that I should do. And I think maybe even in certain areas where people work, maybe that too, because I remember Akasan, for instance, he said he was stopped multiple times close to where he worked. So his students would see him being like accosted outside. And that's so embarrassing. People don't understand. That is perception. And that's the thing, is perception, man. Like, and just it's not comfortable where you work, where you live. Right. So if your students or your clients are seeing you being accosted, they're wondering like, what's going on? Like, okay, like, did he do something wrong? And they probably won't even approach you to ask, to clarify. So no, they have this perception in their mind. And it's just there, like, okay, I saw this. I don't know why they stopped him. Right. And at my house, it's like, okay, like, why did they stop him now? Okay, is this guy like, doing something wrong? So all these things, and you won't know because some Japanese people won't approach you to ask you these questions. So now you're, the guy, the foreigner, that foreign family that lives up the street. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So there's just so many things. So I think even where people work, maybe I guess it might make sense to go and register, right? So they know, okay, listen, this is me. This is what I do. I'm down there by the street. When y'all see me, you know who I am, right? I think that actually might be beneficial because I'm like, hey, we have to register for everything anyways. My parking spot, my name is there. Well, not physically, but they know the name, they know the car that's there, all these things you got to go through, got to get permission, all just so many things you got to do. So we're already in the system, right? So might as well we do that if it helps to circumvent like the questions, the multiple identification, all that stuff. So I think that's one practical thing that I'm getting out of this discussion that I think I will do.
I think it's absolutely necessary. As I mentioned, a friend of mine, O'Neill, one of his stories, and I know he wouldn't mind me sharing this. He works in Aichi Prefecture, and they had some kind of incident with this random weird Japanese guy who was near their school, and I think it was a parent who called the police. Actually, I remember exactly what he was doing. He was doing some things in the parking lot that he shouldn't have been doing in his car. I'll just leave it at that to keep it PG. And so the police came. This guy drove. Yeah. The police came, but the guy had driven off. Now, the school got a call. So my friend O'Neill, who's from Harlem, right, along with his colleagues, the Japanese staff told them, like a little bit after the fact, what was going on. So their response as foreigners is, hey, not our students. Like, they went out in the parking lot to see what was going on. And of course, the police showed up on the scene, and one of the guys spoke really good Japanese, and it was like, look, this is what was going on. In the midst of all of this, you know what the police did? They said, hey, can we see you guys' identification cards? Like, come on, are we serious right now? Like, this is like, again, I had to call the Kensho. We talked to the governor's office, and it was like, just make sure you register. What was interesting is those jets who had already registered, they're like, yeah, we're already registered. But for those who didn't, you're being stopped all the time. And I think Gizmo, you mentioned it earlier, that whole idea of the younger police officer being trained by the older officer. And yes, you can tell them what you're not going to do. You can say, I don't have time. Leave me alone. I got to go. They also have to respect that to some level. I was in a car accident a few years ago. One of my friends, another Black American from North Carolina, he was in a car accident. I called him up. I was like, I was in a car accident. This happened, da-da-da-da-da. Called my school because I was on my way to work. My principal told the vice principal to come out. This order, and what my friend told me from North Carolina, he said, look, the older cop is probably going to be stern and just a straight, just really mean and angry to you. It's good cop versus bad cop. He not only got on my vice principal, but he tried to get on me. My Japanese wasn't as good as it is now. And I told him straight up and down, I was like, wait a minute. You asked me a question. All of this is in Japanese. You're going to let me finish answering my question, and you're going to listen to me. They separated me and the other guy. It was Fender Bennett. It was my fault, right? And I think they go through this interrogation process because they're trying to find out, particularly with car accidents, who's going to lie, because they think people are going to lie. I'm like, look, man, I think this was my fault. He was in my blind spot. It was a sunny day. Like, I'm not trying to get out of this. I think this was my fault. He switched his tune up. He became polite. He even became apologetic. But I did sternly speak to him like, yo, I'm going to finish talking because you asked me a question. I'm going to answer my question. Take your report. But this guy, this older cop, police officer, he was indignant. He even told my principal to move away from the scene. My vice principal move away from the scene. I was like, nah, I'm going to go stand over here next to my vice principal, and you're going to deal with it. So, brother, again, we're here for you. We're here for anybody that deals with these kinds of situations. The only thing I have that kind of helps is registering. Like you said, I never thought about it this way. We have to register for everything here anyway. You can't get a cell phone. You can't get an apartment. You can't get a gas bill. You can't do anything in this country without that residence card. So I yield the floor.
Yeah. I think it's been good. So if there's any questions in the comment section, you guys can just hey, like 5 minutes, drop a question. This is your time to ask anyone on the panel if you got a question, and then we're gonna conclude, right? But I think this was educational. I think it was insightful, enlightening. Again, I personally don't have a problem with the police doing their jobs, right? Because I'm not a criminal, so I'm like, oh, but the thing is that one incident, when people abuse their power and just do stuff, and people weaponize the police, again, for their own, like whatever it is, satisfaction or whatever it is, that's a problem, right? So that's why, again, when they came, I'm like, man, y'all allow someone to call. What did they say? Like, what was the call about? Like, it's daytime. It's like a main road here, cars are coming, like semi main road. All these cars passing every second. You got people walking and children and everything. You think I'm that insane to be I can't. So yeah, so that's why I gave them the cold shoulder really strong that day. But of course, when they checked the stuff, my wife came out, then they're like, oh snap, okay, he's actually telling the truth. Like, what we see, that's a family. They left, and that was that. I don't see any comments in the. You guys, okay, Gizmo.
All right, so mainly directed towards Abel. I have a few bits of advice for I'd say avoiding interactions with the police. I would like to hear from your perspective, like, what has been really, really successful to get out of those interactions quickly, and or just flat avoid them. For me personally, if I see the police, I kind of just cut right. I cut right. Like, if I see the cop car and they glance at me, I'm going down a one-way street. Y'all gonna have to work for this, like, for real, for real. And also, what has also worked for me as well is like pointing at my jikan ga nai, shigoto ga aru yo, shigoto arimasu yo, and they're like, oh, we'll be quick. 2分dake, gomen. And then they're like, that avoids them frisking me. I mean, there's one time they did frisk me in the 2 minutes, but they made it quick. They apologized, and it was on the way. So what suggestions would you have, Abel, for avoiding these situations or getting out of these situations quickly?
So I think it really depends on whom you talk to. I think, well, based off my experiences, younger police officers tend to be more polite compared to the older officers, I think. So when I was dealing with younger officers, whenever I say, sorry, I'm running out of time, so please let me go, some of them, I mean, most of them, let me go, or they'll just make it really quick. So I think it really depends on whom you deal with. But like, if you are, to be exposed by like older police officer, they're like stubborn. They're really stubborn. I think it really doesn't matter, like whatever you say, they're just like persistent. Like, even so, there was a time when I was just frustrated by all of them, so I just escaped by bicycle. And it was really it didn't turn out to be great. They're just trying to turn on they're I think turning on the silent, like and they're just kept chasing me down, and of course you know with bicycle you can't get away from the car, and I gave up. I just got, yeah, I would say captured by them. Yeah, it was really intense, but like from my experiences, it just no really good idea to escape from them. And also depend, as I say, depends on like whom you deal with. Maybe if it's younger officers, maybe it might go well. You can just say, yeah, I don't have time. But it really depends. Yeah,
So
that's my
when they caught
conclusion.
when they caught you, what happened? Because now you're what happened? You're evading them. So what happened when you were riding, like, I don't know, Tokyo
I,
drifting?
I I know for a fact you didn't live in the U.S. because like this man sent a sovereign name on. I know you ain't live in the U.S. I would never dream of that, son. Oh,
So, so what happened when they caught you?
So I I don't I don't really remember the details, but I was just frustrated by all of them, like just everything what has like ever happened to me. I think they say something about my bicycle. My bicycle was old, I think that time, and maybe like they wanted to check on my bicycle to see if it was stolen bicycle or not. Yeah,
Okay,
because yeah, basically I
okay,
think that's the reason why they wanted to. Yeah.
okay, okay. Yeah, I don't advise. I wouldn't advise anyone to run away. I'm like, don't try to like run away from the police. I don't think that would be, well, you're Japanese, so I guess for you it's not that bad, right?
Yeah, it was just I
But
wouldn't do that. I
Piggles,
wouldn't normally do that. It
yeah,
just really frustrating because experiencing it like dozens of times,
yeah.
and
I
there was a, I think, situation. I mean, there was a moment where you can't stand it anymore, right? Yeah.
Precisely. That's
Yeah.
what it is. And I think that point is what some people don't understand. When you're stopped so frequent, you really it gets under your skin. And that's the thing, we're humans. Most people have a breaking point. So if you're a very calm person, you might be okay for the first 10 or 5 or whatever. And
Yeah.
then one time maybe you're late for work or late for school or something important, and then they stop you then. And then you're like, man, like all the time, and there's nothing and there's never anything wrong before. So you're just like, oh. So people need to understand that that happens, right? So if it's one time, maybe, unless it's a really bad experience the first time, right? But usually people have like a breaking point, and you had yours that day and you ran. What I try to do is, because
Absolutely.
you, based on what you said, when people make eye contact or you watch the car, they always use that as an excuse. So when I see the car, I'm just like, I just pretend I'm like, I don't see anybody. Like if I'm driving and they're driving by slowly, because in the nighttime they do that. They turn off the headlights and they just roll, right? So when I see them rolling, I'm just like, okay, I'm just trying to get to my house. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just, if I see them, I'm like, okay, because next thing, the same excuse. You're not the first person that said it. A lot of people say when they come, well, you're looking at us and you're looking away and you're looking suspiciously. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I ain't looking at y'all. I see y'all. Okay, that's it. I ain't looking. Pickles was trying to say something.
Yeah, just quickly. Two things. What do they consider suspicious? Because that's a whole new subjective thing, right? But what I realize is if the persons have genuine intentions for you. I remember walking in Yamato Halloween. People remember Japan is crazy about Halloween. Let's put it in context. Halloween, right? I have on a Jabberwocky's white mask and a pullover walking through my area. And my friend was saying, Andre, I don't think you should do that because you probably come off creepy. I said, no, but it's Halloween time. It's party. Yeah, it's crazy, right? Walking. Some kids see me. Oh, cool. Start crying and walking away. Cool. But I get that without a mask. So I mean, it's part of the course, right? Cool. Walking. Apparently, reports were made. A teacher runs out from the elementary school. By the time I was like probably 5 minutes down the street from elementary school, someone saying, I know I'm like, yeah, it's Halloween. Another hold demo, go mende, ano, saki wa chotto, kawai katta kedo. I'm like, yeah, but it's Halloween. She said she was about to call the police, but something said, let me just check to see who it is. And oh, this is foreigners in Halloween costume. Well, what happened was a week before that, there was this hentai Oji-san that was mooning the kids. So sometimes we have to be mindful that other persons have experiences, and because of their previous experiences, it guides them how to react. So maybe I don't know, Ranzo, if somebody saw that German vehicle somewhere and it trigger something in their brain, and they say, yeah, man, German vehicle, black man, I know what that means. Bam. You know what I mean? So we have to be mindful of that. Just to give context. I'm saying it's right, but things like that probably guide us, and it's also causes us to make these very stupid stereotypes that may cause us to look like fools in the end. You know what I mean? So yeah.
If I
Yeah.
may, what's suspicious? Because when you told your story about Halloween, it reminded me of being on the grounds in the summertime at one of my elementary schools, and I had to take a call that came from abroad. So rather than being in the teacher's room and speaking obviously in English, I decided to go out on the grounds, and I was on a call for a very long time compared to Japanese standards. It was probably easily 30, 45 minutes. And some of the teachers actually came out on the ground and they were like, "Hey, Joseph Sensei, have you seen a weird guy out here?" I was like, "No, but I'm probably the weird guy out here. Like, what happened?" They were like, "Oh, we got a call from some, you know, neighbors riding by saying it was a weird guy out." But listen to the description: weird guy, right? Not a black guy with dreads, just a weird guy out on the grounds talking on the telephone. And I was like, "Oh yeah, that was definitely me. I've been talking on the phone." They all had a good laugh about it. I did too. But in this context that we're talking about right now, nah, it's a whole nother thing. It's because what happens if the police are called, right? It's a whole different thing. It's an extremely different thing. So suspicion is not doing what Japanese people do. And to make this point, right? I see you, Gizmo. To make this point, this is how, because you've been mentioning Filipinos as well as Chinese or Vietnamese. And the question becomes, well, why are they stopped so often by the police? How are they stopped? Because if you've been here long enough, you can see the difference in cultural mannerisms between Filipino, Vietnamese, Chinese, Japanese, and even Korean. So this is how they're stopped. But with it, and another thing within my community, countryside, I'm getting that. So Renzo, sorry, don't know if register is going to work if you live in a big city. Countryside, it's been working for me to some degree. I don't know if it's going to work in a big city because the Vietnamese and the Chinese girls that work up the street from me, and they all live in those dorms near where I work. I'm near where I live. Yeah, they're probably registered. They probably aren't being, stopped by the police. I'm just saying, suspicion.
Yeah, yeah. Wait, Gizmo, you were saying something, right? Were you?
Yeah, so essentially, I think in the realm of suspicion when it comes to police officers or law enforcement in Japan or just Japanese people in general, it's a homogenous country. 99% of the people are Japanese. And Japan has this saying, it's the nail that stands out will be hammered down. So quintessentially, you just not being Japanese automatically puts you on a level of suspicion. And of course the dreads probably ain't helping. The darker skin probably is not helping as well. But you not being Japanese is a flag raised already. And the darker skin is another flag. The dreads is another flag. All that stuff. So yeah, but it's not right. I understand it comes with the territory. And let's talk a bit of solution. The only thing you really can do is you're like big up Joseph. He was talking from the kind of aspect that I have, the thinking I have, that you're a cultural ambassador. Because people will be like, yo, why are you letting people touch your hair? Don't let them touch your hair, man. That's crazy. They ain't got no right to touch your hair. It's like, bro, I'm probably the first black person they've ever met, probably the last black person they'll ever meet. And if I'm polite, kind, nice, and they like me, you know what? They touch my hair. Wow, this guy's the next black person they meet, they'll be nice. They're not worried. They're not going to be afraid, because there's been encounters with Japanese people here where they've seen me and just take off running. Little kids just take off running from me because I'm the scary foreigner dude or whatever. And yeah, you're a cultural ambassador in that sense. So I think in the interactions with law enforcement, you could be kind. And I'm to say what you were saying, Ranzo. I'm tired of being kind because they've harassed me so many times. So I'm not the dude to do that. But those are things that we can do to improve this situation. And as time is going forth, there are more mixed people of Japanese origin and other ethnicities as well. So it's becoming more common. I would say definitely. I moved to Japan 10 years ago, so it's changed a bit. Yeah, so that's good as well. What else did I want to say? Okay, last thing I want to say. Yo, my man Abel, were you on the mamachari running away from the police, man? Because like, if you was on that mamachari, ghosting the police officers, bro, I owe you a drink, my dog. Just let me know when you come back to Japan again, because that is
Yes, right.
hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I was with Mama Cherry. Yeah.
Okay, so any final thoughts? We saw from Piggles, and you can also shout out your channel. You guys can go and check him out. Just any final thoughts?
I think discussions like these probably should be something we do semi regularly, even with persons from other races or other cultures, to kind of bring awareness to it. It's not about us being black or whatever, but these are things that are happening to people. And sometimes the experience with the police, they can't even talk about it, because remember the incident with the Sri Lankan girl that was held in immigration that died. That was messed up. The whole situation was crazy, you know. There are things that are happening that people are not aware of, and I'm really glad for all the platforms that we have that I've done so far, Ranzo, Gizmo as well, that we talk about things that happen in Japan that is not really the fluffy, oh, go to this cafe or whatever, because they're real things. Japan is not a real place to most people, but it is a real place, and things that happen and people with real issues are here. So I really appreciate that. Also, to check me out because the guys on all platforms. Just make sure you guys just be real. If you can be good, be creative, and just be true and honest with yourselves. Honesty with ourselves will help to form the solution. So, if you can register, as Joseph says, register. I don't know how it will help, but try register. Find out, is there a process? What's it called, Joseph? Is there a Japanese word for it? I'm sure there is, because Japan has a
Um,
word for everything.
I don't know what the word would be. Maybe we could ask Abel. I just know Gaijin Torok or Zayu card, which they changed it, and
Mhm.
you just essentially like Renzo was saying, we've registered for everything here. So
Yeah.
when I what I found out was that legally they could stop me, and they told me the best course of action is, well, beat them to the punch before they stop you. So again, I don't know if this is going to work in a big city, but I just beat them to the punch. And the other thing is, well, sorry, I'll just say this. My solution is you have to embrace your own cultural and ethnic identity, and you have to educate others about it. You're going to have some people that hate you. You're going to have some people that may be xenophobic. I don't see Japan as being xenophobic because I'm from the States. It's a cakewalk here for me compared to my country. Um, I know how to talk to people, and I know how to get my point across. And I just thank God that I don't have any issues to the extreme, but I'm concerned about my son. Period. Full stop.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, all right, just finish up quickly. And yeah, I'm known as Dre Amazing as well. So check out my music on Spotify, YouTube Music, everywhere. Check out Gizmo the Trini. Yeah, we're doing stuff over in Japan. Big up, Ranzo.
All right. All right. Joseph.
I said what I wanted to say. Again, I thank you for the opportunity to share my experience and wisdom with you. I'm here for you. I'm here for your family and anybody else that I can help. I really like it here. Been here 20. I'm here because I'm an educator. That's the only reason why I lasted this long. It's my God-given gift to teach, and I'm looking forward to going home. But the dialogue is very, very important and necessary because other people will be coming, people of color and people of other different ethnic backgrounds. So, I hope this helps folks, period. And I would love to have a conversation with some police officers worldwide because honestly, they're not talking and they are the ones who really need to be talking because the way policing is done worldwide it's no good. It's just no good. Japan police is a lot better than the United States, but honestly, people are pissed about this. People are angry and some people are even fearful of their lives and afraid. So things need to change. It's 2022. Things need to change. Policing needs to change. Full stop.
All right. So Abel, any final thoughts for the discussion?
Yeah, I mean, as everybody has spoken, I think in terms of the diversity, Japan's like already has been like 2 steps or 3 steps behind compared to Western countries, I think. So I mean, definitely needs to be improved, and it's just like what's been happening isn't fair at all. And it's not only about Black people anymore. And I have, LGBT friends and living in Japan, and they have faced like same issues. And also, I said I lived in Shinjuku, right? When I was in Shinjuku, LGBT people are getting stopped by police officers. So I've seen that happening as well. So I mean, it's just like responding to looking suspicious in Japan. It refers to you just act or look different. Is just definition of suspicious, I think. So it's, I mean, 2022, right? Things has been changed. Like it should be changed. Like we need to work out. So yeah, just it's not only about Black people. It's just for everybody. And we need to embrace and we need to accept their diversity. Yeah, that's why I'm here for. Thank you so much.
All right, all right. Gizmo.
First and foremost, big up Ranzo for shining light on this and actually being like, I'd say the beacon of light for people of the diaspora within Japan. That's like crazy commendable. And I genuinely appreciate what you do. I'm sure a lot of us in here appreciate what you do for the culture, for the movement. I want to say shout out for Joseph to shining so much light and wisdom. I could really relate to you with the like, because you even though you were talking about registering, like register, get out the way, bro. Like in my heart of hearts, I just don't want to deal with police. Like even walking, I see them behind me, I don't want to deal with them. But like that's something I probably do have to take into perspective and take in mind to just not deal with being harassed all the time. Shout out Piggles, my guy. Big O's the guy, Jamaican YouTuber. And shout out, my Chari Wild Speed Drifter Abel over here. Shout out as well. It's really unfortunate. I think it might be a bit harder for you because you are culturally Japanese. And for within the eyes of your own people, you're kind of seen as not Japanese. So I could imagine how that affects you psychologically. But at the end of the day, like everyone in here said, it's 2022. It's you have a TV, you see movies, you consume media from all over the world. So to hold these archaic ideals when it comes with dealing people that aren't with people that aren't Japanese, it's time. It's time to go. How are you gonna like hip hop music and see a Black person and run away? It just doesn't make sense. But on our end, we can, I guess carry the weight on our shoulders, try to be a little bit more kind, be nice, and represent for the diaspora, for us as ambassadors, so the next generation, the next set of people that come through don't have to deal with the issues that we're dealing with. Lastly, what did I want to say? I want to say something else, but I
Social
forgot.
media. Social media.
Oh yeah. Talk about myself. That's what I'm good at, baby. Yo. I am Gizmo D Trini. You can find me on YouTube under Gizmo D Trini. But if you would like to hear more stories about life in Japan, you could check me on the Kuro Couch. That's TheKuroKouch. We talk about our experience in Japan as Black people. Piggles was on there recently. We were wilding about some scams going on. Ranzo's good cop. We on Kuro Couch, we kind of wild out. We kind of we get down, baby. But thank you so much, Ranzo. Big up everybody in the chat. Big up LJ, Piggles, Joseph, Abel, man. All love, man. I wish all y'all the best, yo. A crazy, amazing, entertaining conversation, and I would love to hear more of these.
All right, nice. Yeah, thanks for coming on, Gizmo. And Abel, social media. Do you want to give your social media? And Joseph, if you want to give as well, do you want to give your social media, Abel?
Okay, I mean, well, like primarily, I'm not here to like advertising myself, but like, well, if I'm allowed to, my social media, it's Instagram. My name is Abel Nakao. It's just same spelling, ABELNAKAO. Yeah, just type in my name, Able Nakao. That's how it's gonna show up. Yeah, I mean that's it. Like, yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. Joseph?
My Instagram is Joseph period Harris period red, the color red, the number 23. You can contact me there. I write a lot, so I will always write those who write me. I don't post a lot, but I write a lot.
So are you on
Keep it that
Twitter?
simple.
Because Twitter is like,
No.
writing. Oh, you're not?
No, because 140 characters is not real writing.
Okay.
That's how people get caught up. God
Okay,
bless
okay.
Twitter, but you can't make. I couldn't defend what I spoke about today on a Twitter feed, so it's IG. It's
Okay,
IG. That's
okay.
it. Yep.
All right. So guys, thanks for coming on. I appreciate your time. Like we're almost right on the money. Usually, I go beyond the time. It's 10:11, so it's like 3 minutes beyond the deadline, the limit, right? So thanks for coming on, Piggles, Joseph, Abel, Gizmo. God bless y'all. Take care. I'll stay on for like maybe 2 minutes just to close out. But until next time, right? We should do this again maybe another time or something on another topic,
Yeah.
maybe.
Definitely, I'm down, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
I'm down too.
All right, nice. So take care. Or peace out,
Yeah.
guys.
Thank you so much.
Salute.
Take care.
Bye bye.
All right. So guys, yeah, that's it, right? So so it was 1 hour and 55 minutes. You guys can watch the replay. We're gonna have it, I'm gonna leave it on the channel. And again, so this was a discussion of just black men in Japan and able as well as Japanese sharing our experiences with the police in Japan. Of course, because of what transpired recently with me and my family, right? So definitely what's gonna come out of this is people have been giving me different suggestions. Again, if you want to learn more, there's an article I think in the description. I think the article is really insightful. The book of course has way more insights because the book was written by ex-Japanese police, so you can check it out. If you can read Japanese, if not, you can maybe just go through it slowly and translate, page by page or paragraph by paragraph, to get some insight on just the way the police work and operate in Japan. And as a foreigner, I think that's like information, especially if we're plagued by frequent stops. The reason why this hit close to home, literally, again, is because it's literally right at my house. And that's why it was different from any other experience I've had or encounters with the police. And hopefully it doesn't happen again. So what I'm gonna do is, because I've never done it before, is go with my family to the police station and just register everybody and let's see. And the reason why, again, this has never happened to me in the way it happened a few days ago before ever in my life in Japan. So it's definitely a different experience. And sometimes Japanese people have been writing comments and foreigners alike and just encouraging me and telling me not to allow this to sour my experience and for me to change certain things about myself because of what happened. But I gotta say, indeed, I won't allow it to do that. But it definitely was weighing on me, man. It left a taste in my mouth, because I wasn't doing anything wrong. And of course, the police came once they saw, my license and the document, and he called in whatever. That was it. It was done. He went where he went, right? So that was it. Just to show you that was all it was, right? It was just someone, again, just being suspicious, I guess, just looking not Japanese, whatever it was. I don't know. People are saying all sorts of things. People are making assumptions that, music was playing. I wasn't playing any music. In the comments I'm just talking about people who are saying, were you playing music? Were you in the road? Were you parked illegal on the roadside? I'm like, nah, I don't play around with stuff like that. I make sure that all things are the way they should be, because I'm just like, I'm not leaving anything unchecked, right? So that was the reason why I was so cheesed. So what I'm going to do again, I'm going to go there, check and register and stuff. Again, each parking spot in Japan, to have a car, you have to first, to park illegally, you have to go to the police station and get, what they call a parking certificate, right? You got to get that. And first, if you're in an apartment, you got to get, permission from them first. If you own the parking spot or the house or whatever, you also got to write permission for yourself as well. Then you got to go to the police station. You got to wait like anywhere from 3 days to like a week for them to give you that parking certificate. And then you go to the government office and you register your car and do all that stuff, right? So it takes about maybe 6 days thereabout to actually get your car registered and all those things. It's a process. So every parking spot in Japan has, in most places, some places in the countryside, you don't have to register, apparently, from what I've learned. But every parking spot has, once it's occupied, has a person's name and a car and all that stuff registered to the spot. So if a police can come and check a spot and find out who it belongs to, right? So there's all these things. So I was just wondering to myself, I'm like, couldn't they just check and just see? Oh, like I registered the car that same morning. I'm like, all my stuff is in the system. Um, so and the parking spot or whatever. But where I'm gonna go. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go there with my family. Register my family, tell them, okay, we live at this spot, and at the same time try to see try to see if I can find out like what was the real reason, like why they came. Because at the time I wasn't in the mood to really engage. And as Gizmo was saying, I'm always pleasant. Like with the police, I have no problem. Like I'm a reasonable human. I'm not gonna run away and just get angry in the when they just stop me. I'm not going to do that. But this was a different thing. I couldn't believe it was one of those things that I couldn't believe that someone actually called the police on me at my house, because for whatever reason I don't know, right? So that's why this one was a little bit different, and I've never heard something like this before. But again, people have experiences all across Japan, and the Japanese people are telling me about like Japanese people get stopped too. It's just a part of life. They stop you on your bicycle, they stop you wherever. It's just a thing. And according to the law, they can stop apparently anyone at any time, anywhere, and ask you to furnish your Zayu card, residence card. I don't get asked that all the time. I've gotten stopped once in Shibuya, once in where was this? I don't know. Where was that place? Maybe Kunitachi, maybe somewhere like that. And I got stopped where I live. So 3 times in Japan, right? And it wasn't even stop. The third time wasn't a stop. I was where I was and they came to me, right? So that's what happened. And hopefully it won't happen again. Hopefully, because from what I've learned, they keep a record of all interactions, so that should be in the system, and they should see if someone calls about, I don't know what they call about, but I'm gonna go there with my family and register or whatever and just find out more. And then if I have more information, I'll provide it with you guys. And of course, I think we provided some insight that if you find yourself in Japan, you can, if you move here this year, next year, okay, let me go to the police station to try to circumvent these things from happening, right? Or to reduce the duration of the engagement or encounter. So if they come and they see you, they look up, oh yeah, this person is, Joe from this place, he's there, okay, whatever. They can see it and they're on their way. Because sometimes they're pressing and pressing and pressing. For what reason, I don't know, to try to find something. You give them an ID like the time when I was in, I don't know, Kunitachi or wherever that was. I can't remember where exactly I was at the time when they stopped me. But I was riding for maybe like 30 minutes at that point. And I showed them my stuff and they were still asking for stuff. They were just still standing there like statues for some reason. But yeah, it's definitely important to be proactive. Right. And this was definitely a sort of, it was a sort of like wake up call. It was a very, man, it was something, I gotta say, because when I recorded the video, I was outside. So I came in, I'm like, I'm gonna do a video right now. I'm just like, I'm gonna do a video right now. So within 2 hours of the encounter, it was still heated, came in and did that. And as a Christian, I have to forgive, right? Whoever the person is, that did that. My wife had to come out and my daughter and stuff, but they're fine. My wife is fine. We actually went to the beach, and this is the thing when you think about the sort of juxtaposition. And I have the video. I think I might release it. We went to the beach because sometimes I just feel to go to the beach or whatever. We did a spontaneous trip. We went to the beach yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. Technically the day before yesterday, Saturday, we went, and we were there on the beach, all of us, my wife and my 2 daughters, the baby and Tiffany, and we're there on the beach. And then this Japanese family, it was mostly women and kids. They actually came up to us and the lady offered us miso. It was so strange because she offered us miso, which is just like the miso paste in the thing. I think it was, as my wife said, it was her way to break the ice, right? So she came up to us and she was asking like, do you want some? She's like, it's delicious. I'm just like, it was a bit weird to me. I'm like, it's like miso sauce. Like, it was very strange, but it was her way of breaking the ice. And her kids came over, her son started playing with my daughter. She was making this, some sand castles and stuff, and the kids came over asking questions or looking at my daughter, the baby and stuff, and saying kawaii, all that stuff. So it was such a, I was just saying to my wife, look at this, like it's a juxtaposition. And the thing is, sometimes you have an experience that's so negative, and then you have another one that's not negative, that's really like positive, like the one we had. They were asking questions, she even told us last night, because I never knew, we were about to leave the beach when she approached us, and she was saying, oh, there's going to be it's like a sort of like a festival, the harvest festival. So the moon, she told us, so we waited for the moon to come up, and it was actually really beautiful. We saw the sunset, we saw the moon come up, and she was telling us that at their house they prepare mochi and stuff like that for the harvest festival. And so she just just taught us some stuff and show us some different islands where we were. And she's like, okay, over there, and that's that one. And then when we went to a restaurant afterwards, just me and my family, one of the guys that was there, he saw us and he's like, hey, they were so friendly. I'm like, okay, is it just where we were? We're in Kanagawa actually. I'm like, is it just where we were? These people were like super friendly, and it was a really, really a good experience. So you have that, right? And that happens. And on this channel again, my job or my goal is to share the reality of life in Japan as a black person, right? Because I'm a black person, and the people we feature primarily are black people. Sometimes we talk to Japanese people on the channel, like interviews and stuff like that, and mixed Japanese people as well. But I want to show the totality of the experience, right? So it's negative and positive, and some people don't like to hear the negative. Some people don't like to hear the positive because they feel like we're sugarcoating. But the thing is, you can only share what you've experienced, right? And other people can only share what they've experienced. And I implore people, again, if you have an experience that you want to share, reach out, right? Because again, I share my experiences. If it's bad, I'm sharing it because I don't want to just try to like fabricate the image, right? Whatever I show is just real life. I'm not trying to like, oh, let me not say this or let me not say that. If it happens and it's good, I'm saying it. And again, when we're receiving an experience, you got to understand that there might be just factors that we don't know about, like different things. As Piggles said, someone might have some prior experience, and because of that, when they see you, it triggers this thing, and etc. etc. Humans are complex, but I want to share and hopefully educate people that are watching, and hopefully we can have a better experience going forward. Some of the comments were mostly positive on that video. People were sympathizing, Japanese people were apologizing, foreigners were saying different things. Some people are like, oh, Ranzo, you should have known this because you're in Asia, da, da, da. All these different things people are saying. Some people are saying if you don't like it, go back to your country. And but mostly the comments on that video, the one right before this one, has been largely positive. And my experience in Japan so far has been largely positive. I've been stopped 3 times, and yes, sometimes again that one experience really was a really sour experience for me. It was really, really sour because there was no legitimate reason in my mind, because I'm where I live, I mean, in my parking spot, all these things. There was no reason. I wasn't obstructing traffic. I wasn't there was nothing, no music, there was nothing at all. Nothing. Oh man, it was so uncalled for, man. So uncalled for. That's why, of course, once I gave them the stuff, they saw it. My wife came out, they were gone. That was it. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for coming on. We might have more discussions. We did this back in the day, but I felt like I wanted to come on and just share more experiences from just other black people in Japan who had encounters with the police. Some people reached out, but they never showed up. But nonetheless, I think we had a really good panel here tonight. And again, we might cover another topic at some other point. Maybe we make these. I can't make any promises, but if possible, maybe like once per week or something like that, and just tackle different issues and just share our perspective. One thing I want to try is, if possible, and I don't know, because right now there's a book out that was written by an ex-Japanese police officer, and that might be the most insight we might get, because I'm not sure if we can possibly get a Japanese police to actually speak. Maybe it's possible. I don't know if there needs to be like a media request or something. I'm not sure how that works, but it would be really good to actually get the insight from maybe an active or active duty police officer in Japan, possibly. But I'll let you guys know my findings when we go and we register and do all these things and see what it's like, and if we can get some insight, right? And then I provide it with you to you guys. So that's pretty much it. But of course, if we can get a police officer, if y'all know somebody, I'm so in here, but if y'all know somebody, man, we'll see. Because again, the goal is I don't have any problems with someone doing their job, right? I understand that component, and again, it's the person who weaponized the police. That's the person that's at fault primarily, because whatever it is that prompted them to make the call for something so foolish, they're the person that has that thing. And again, if the suspicion is just being non-Japanese, it's like you can't avoid that. But you got to find a way to mitigate those interactions as much as you can, if possible. So I'm gonna try to do what I can because again, the first time this has happened to me ever, and we've been here for almost 2.5 years, right? At this address, this location. I'm right. So guys, thanks for coming on. Is there any Ranzo, can you install a camera at your house or car? I did think about that. I did think about it just because, and that's the thing. These are the things I don't think about in Japan. Usually, I don't think about these things. Like in Jamaica, I'm always on the defensive because you gotta always be ready. It's just the nature of just where you are, especially in some communities. Some places maybe not so much, but like some places you gotta be on guard because you never know what can happen. Um, some other countries as well, you always gotta like have that thing. In Japan, as I said before, like even my wallet, usually if I have my camera bag, it's like in the side. when I went to Vietnam, I had that same thing, and they were telling me, "Yo, you can't have your thing, your wallet's in your backpack right there, like exposed. Someone will take it, like the pickpocket people or whatever, thieves or whatever." So I'm like, okay, you know what? And that's the thing in Japan. I usually don't think about these things. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just going through, right? Because in my mind, I just feel like if something should happen, I'm like, okay, like, I'm not afraid. I think I can handle myself pretty well. So I don't think about that. So I'm just going, with my family. But now I think, you know what, I'm going to have that same thing while in Japan, especially as a protector of my family, all girls. My wife is a woman, of course, my two daughters, right? So it's like, I got to like, you get what I'm saying? So now I'm like, okay, you know what? I got to like have that thing. So with the camera part, I thought about it just because if it's actually somebody, I don't know if it's somebody in the neighborhood, because where we live, it could be somebody that's driving by, someone that's walking from afar off, right? So it could be anybody. So it doesn't have to necessarily be someone in the community. So I thought about the camera. I did. I actually looked up some cameras and stuff because I'm like, okay, if it's actually some crazy person, they might try to do something to the car or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I just want to put a camera somewhere. I thought about it, but I'm just like, it's a lot of like just work to get a camera in and all those things. I don't know if I want to go that far. But yeah, but that's pretty much just it on my side. Thanks for coming on. What's the name of the book the name of the book? Wait, let me get the title of the book. The name of the book, it's in Japanese if you can read it. It's titled Shokumu Shitsumon, right? So it's a question, police questioning. Hold up. I believe that's what wait. Okay, so let me just read this thing here. So this is in 2021. Mahoro, I'm going to butcher this name, forgive me. Furuno, a former elite police officer, published a book titled Shokumu Shitsumon, in which he explains how it all works. According to him, the police engage in questioning are hunting for criminals. In recent years, slightly over 10% of arrests in Japan originated from police questioning people. The fact that you are not a criminal is irrelevant. They may just be seeking to confirm you are not, and you might fit the description of an offender having unwittingly emerged from a place known to be a locus of criminal activity, know something about an event or person linked to a crime, or just be acting or looking suspicious, right? So this is just an excerpt from this article. And again, I'm going to drop the name in the description. I think you can search it and the name of the author. Yeah, you should be able to find it. Let me just drop it here in the comment section. So this is the name of the book. I really think this is like a valuable resource, actually. So the moment I read the article, I'm like, you know what, I'm getting the book. So this is the name of the author as well, and the link to the article is in the description as well, for your own learning. So let's see, by this person here. That's the name of the police. So that's a title, and that's the name of the author, right? So y'all can just Google it right now and grab the book. People are asking me different questions. I don't want this to go on too long. 2 hours 30 minutes already too long. Is rent expensive in Japan? Not really. It depends where you are. If you're in central Tokyo, you're gonna pay like about $1,500 to $2,000 for like a shoebox where your big toe alone can fit in. I don't understand that, but I live in like Western Tokyo, so for me it's like I pay around the same amount, approximately, maybe a little bit lower for like a larger place, for more rooms and stuff like that. If where I live, if that was somewhere else, it would be way more expensive, in central Tokyo, etc. But yeah, but that's pretty much it, right? So guys, thanks for coming on. Until next time, I'll catch you guys again. I might do one more video just after I do the process of going to the police station, all that stuff, and maybe talk to some Japanese people. Guess I mean, just learn some more from their perspective, etc. You guys can read the comments in the last video. You can get some perspective from just the way it is. One comment I saw, someone said, a Japanese person said that apparently foreigners, there's been some uptick. I asked my Japanese friend because she called and checked on us too, and she's like, I'm like, are foreigners like stealing cars or something? Like most like quite a few commenters were saying that, and she's like, well, not really, but it does happen. So I don't, it doesn't seem like it's like a big, like something that's as widespread as they're saying, but they're saying that apparently it's known in some areas that foreigners steal, especially like luxury cars or whatever. And then what happens is Japanese people see. So whenever they see, this is a comment, you can go and check it out. How factual it is, I'm not sure, but you know, someone was sharing it in the comment. They're saying, so if a Japanese person see a foreigner in a luxury car, they tend to take a picture and then post it on Twitter. Or report the person or the car or whatever, right? Because it's just a thing that happens. But they're saying in Tokyo, it's normal. It's more common to see foreigners in a certain type of like German cars or just foreign cars overall in Tokyo, so they don't tend to report as much. So I don't know how factual that is, but that's within itself is problematic because you just all they got to see is a foreigner and a foreign car or a luxury car, or a certain type of car, and then they tend to report it. So if that's a thing that happens, that's quite problematic because all you got to do is be a foreigner and have a certain type of car, and then you're a target to be reported, to be checked out, right? So I don't know if I fell victim to that. I don't know. I'm not sure, but we'll see. Anyways, thanks for coming on, guys. Until next time, God bless y'all. Bye for now. Again, there might be an update after we go to the station and see what's up. All right, peace out. Thanks for coming on. Again, Gizmo, Piggles, Joseph, Abel. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Bye for now. And I'll put their links in the description too, like when I upload the video, so you guys can go and check out their channel. All right, bye for now. God bless. Peace.